Here in person that wants to comment or online if they're able to. Following the public comments, the board probably likely won't address them one by one, but we'll hold off until all the public comments are done and then work through responding to those. After we get done with current public comments, there was a planning commission meeting last week where we'll go over so this board can hear all the comments and concerns and questions that were raised by residents and business owners last week in front of the planning commission. And then that gives us an opportunity to discuss those as they're brought up. After we do that, then there's the opportunity to do a roundtable with the trustees. And so we really hope to flush this out. I don't think any of us want to shove anything through. But hopefully we can really work out some details and figure it out. If not, we'll go back to the drawing board, but this should be a really good opportunity. Then Wednesday, again, it'll be up for the board's potential, the beginning of the approval process. So with that, Article 3, public comment. Again, this is on the proposed zoning changes. Good, bad, questions? If you don't mind coming up to the podium, we'll be able to hear you better.
Thank you for posting the objects that was draft. That was really helpful, and I think it addressed a lot of the concerns raised. I just had a question on the chart.
Name? Oh, sorry. Can we get your name and address for the?
Michelle Lauer, 2992 Overlook. I had a question about one of the charts that changed. Where there are dashes, does that mean that it's a zero? So, for instance, if I'm looking at our rear yard minimum or the front yard minimum, where there's some dashes and a zero.
Can you give us a page number?
Yes.
Yeah.
Section 6.
I understand.
6-7%.
We can, that's Andrew and Chris, you guys know that off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a zero.
Actually, we should clarify. It's not zero, it means there isn't one. So when it says maximum lot area, and there's a dash, it means there is no maximum lot.
Okay.
It's not maximum lot area, zero. There's a potential there, just to make sure it's.
Okay. So okay. So the dash means zero. All right. That's no, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dirk Martin. Just a question, I guess. I live on 36th Street and I have an easement that goes through my property. I want to build a shed. And I was just wondering if you guys want to do any zoning, make it a little bit easier because I have a septic field in the backyard where I can't, or front yard, or whatever you want to call it. So I can't build where I would like. So I need to kind of go along the easement. So anyway, I was just wondering if you guys want to do anything, make it easier for owners to do so.
We'll go over that issue, the shed, that kind of, and we'll hit that.
Okay, and so do I come back next?
No, we'll do it as soon as
Oh.
public comments are done. We can, and then if you have additional comments,
Okay.
that's the real common one.
All right, thank you.
I don't know if you'll like it, but you'll at least get an answer. You're the sidewalk guy too, right?
Yes.
We can add another opportunity for public comments at the end if it doesn't get too late too.
The hard thing about public comments at the end is you don't get a response so much.
Oh, that's true. Anyone virtually? Okay. Can we flush out the, is there any other?
Limited to one.
Yours was pretty weak, so go ahead. and
What I wanted to know is, I noticed on the page before the one I mentioned, so on 6-76, in some of the farm-based code areas, there's no rear minimum yard. So I'm just trying to imagine what that looks like. So maybe you can help me understand, what does that look like when there's no minimum yard? There's a building right up to the lot line. I might totally misunderstand, that's why now.
Yes, that's accurate. Obviously subject to fire code, et cetera. And when we're talking about the front, we're talking about the right of way. The right of way line is usually about a foot inside of the sidewalk, so towards the building from the sidewalk. That's the farthest extent anything could be built under anything because that's where your property is. From that point forward, it's public property for the road, sidewalk, et cetera. So when we say zero, that's the line we're talking about. In some cases, in the village area where zero would be allowed, which are extremely limited, just to be clear. There's actually more space between the sidewalk. And that's in some cases why zero was chosen, because there's actually already a bunch of space there that can't be used. And we can get more into that in specific locational detail if you have questions.
Chris, what about are you talking about, so for example, on Old 28th Street, the backs, so not
talking
the
about
street
rear.
frontage, but the rear, because there are
Like the rear.
condos behind those?
Yes, for rear yards, there are several spots in the ordinance where it designates no minimum rear setback. So yes, in that case, that would mean zero. Though I would like to
Yeah.
quickly point out that on Old 28th Street, that's not the case, it's a 30-foot minimum. Where there is no minimum maximum, the intent behind that is actually flexibility for the property owner. Because they could put parking back there, or they can landscape park there, or they can have their building go all the way back if that worked for them. We do have a particular property owner who has been very engaged in this process because they're ready and willing to invest in their property on Cascade Road at the bottom of the hill. And in their particular case, the best site design for them would be with parking on the side. And so they want their building to be able to go as far back as possible because parking has to be next to it, not behind it. And so that kind of flexibility is what that 0-0 is for. But we definitely are going to be discussing tonight
Okay,
the rear setbacks in the village.
so Old 28th Street, JT's, Chinese restaurant, Tudor Time, they would have a 30 feet.
That's
30.
currently written as 30 feet.
And then when you're talking about zero, can you just
The
describe,
places where, so I'm sorry.
it's a very limited area in. I guess
Yeah,
we'll
the
call it-
places where that would be allowed, where the zero is, would be within the village, sorry, let me just, that's not a well-defined term, I'm sorry. It would be, along Cascade Road and the roads that come off of it between Old 28th Street and the river. So that stretch, as well as along Thornapple River Drive, going either direction. With the limitation that the riverside, of course, you're limited, and how close you can get to the river by a whole bunch of stuff that isn't zoning, both practical and legal, right? So that's where that would happen, and then there would be the opportunity potentially for new buildings that get built in the parking lot of the Thornapple Center Shopping Center to go to the backs of their lots. And the reason for that is that those lots do not currently exist. And they would be created for the new buildings to be built, and because we'd be working completely from scratch, we don't know how far that would make sense, so we're gonna leave it blank for now.
Okay, I just was concerned about, there are some residential areas that buffer where the form-based code rear setback will be 0. And it might be hard for those. It seems like they might be paying a higher price than other parts of the township by losing that buffer. And I realize it's 2 of the districts, not 4, but I just was wondering maybe where it impacts a residential area that's bordering it, maybe that is a separate come out. Just because that might be an unintended consequence.
Thank you, that's good.
And, yep, and fire code for a building would be 10 feet minimum.
So the fire code is, as I understand it, either or. You either be 10 feet apart or if you fire rate wall.
Okay.
So it's the building construction has to be upgraded for fire safety if you're that close.
Okay.
So can we make a note to talk about that? I guess it would be like the behind Foley, and there's the Orange Street development.
Yes. Yeah, for a required rear setback when form-based code is adjacent to residential.
Yep.
That overrides whatever the regular street setback is.
Yep.
That's fair.
So wrapping up public comments for now on this meeting, any other questions or
People need to
comment?
come and talk.
Nobody has any other comments?
We're gonna- we'll go over the public comments that have been summarized from the last planning commission meeting last week on the proposed zoning. So Treasurer Corsange, you were the ex officio member on the planning commission. Why don't, if you don't mind
Yes.
bringing those up, and then as they come up, we can address them. Questions, agreements, concerns, answers,
So,
thoughts.
yeah, so unlike tonight's meeting, there was many people that spoke at the planning commission meeting last week during public comment. So we wanted to make sure that these comments were heard again by all of the board members, not just from the planning commission members and the board members that heard them there, but just that the board heard the comments. They have been summarized by staff, so they're not word for word comments. So if I'm paraphrasing what somebody who is here currently spoke last week, I just want you to don't shoot the messenger. I'm just kind of paraphrasing what was given to me from the meeting last week. So the meeting started off, the first public comment was from Mr. Tran. He's a board member from the Abundant Housing of Michigan. He spoke in favor of the amendments, but he also challenged the commission, and I'm assuming the board, to be more ambitious, suggesting elimination of minimal lot size, minimum dwelling sizes, and parking requirements to address the housing crisis. Do we want to stop at each one? Yeah, we should.
Yeah, just, do you have anything else?
I could look at my own notes.
You wanted,
I think that was the
eliminate-
big thing. He was from a housing resource place that's worried about the lack of affordable housing within Michigan, and he was really promoting us to try to push for more residential and more housing within the township, which is fair.
from Granville,
Mhm.
paid.
Well, I'm just wondering how many houses he's put up in the last 4 years to help with prices. How many has he put up that were affordable to help with prices? Do we get an answer for that?
Nope, just a comment.
Just comment to somebody else to do it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, he's part of an organization that just promotes affordable housing, is my
Did they put
understanding.
up a new?
Do all the people, yeah, do all the people, no, it was, yeah, do all the people that are looking for housing get together and pay his salary or?
Sorry.
Thank you for your comments, but we disagree.
I disagree.
In fact, we
Don't
kind
shoot
of,
the messenger. I'm just reading.
the goal of this was actually to do the opposite because that's what tax paying residents who live here want. Because the way to erode, basically what he's asking for is for all of us to take a hit on our property values and to get more crowded and to have more congestion on the road.
No money out of his pocket.
No, he just gets
Okay,
paid
thank you.
by somebody else.
Any other comments to that comment? Next,
Comments do we have?
I think we have 15-ish. Is that how
15.
many we have? About 15.
So we'll start.
We just want to, we got all night.
Sure. Asking how many?
Next was Ted O'Neill from O'Neill. And the summary is that expressed concerns about how the plan would affect existing automotive businesses on Old 28th Street, questioning whether businesses like his would be incentivized to relocate, raised concerns about traffic and parking for unrestricted rentals and residential development. And then my notes were more my interpretation, which might not be so accurate, but just feeling, I think that feeling like what does the township want them to continue to operate here? Since we've had 2 other automotive shops in the township go out of business recently or cease their business operations in the township. And that was more of my feeling of what was said. And I don't think that's the intent at all by the board or the zoning in any way for our current businesses at all to push them out or to incentivize them to leave in any way, but.
Yeah, with the township buying Tuffy and also Verberg's, he was questioning if there's any space for him or desire by the township to get rid of them.
Yeah.
No, those 2 that we purchased were strategic along the river. To kind of, it was a no-brainer for the township to expand Tassel Park to the corner and then to bring it over across on that prime riverfront. It has nothing to do with the type of business.
The other thing too, just since we've had time to do some homework, the transmission shop has been non-conforming since at least 2011 when the B1 Village District was adopted. So it's not that we are just now saying that businesses like that are not allowed within the village limit. Those zoning changes happened back in 2011. That's not something that we've changed with this zoning. Andrea, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So it's not that we are currently changing that we're not allowing those businesses within the village limits. That happened back in 2011 or before. We didn't change that. So,
And I
and I
didn't
think that's
realize
important,
that.
right? I think that's important that I think a lot of businesses felt like, oh, looking at the new zoning, I'm not allowed to have this business here. You will be, tell me if I'm wrong, legal non-conforming. So you are able to maintain your business and continue to operate the way you currently operate, but we're not changing the majority of the list of businesses that are able or not able to operate within the village. That happened a long time ago. And so just because we are being more transparent with it and pushing it out there and giving the list for everybody to see in a nice graph and a nice form where you can tell what businesses are allowed and not are allowed, doesn't mean that we're changing everything. It's just putting it in a form, I think now that's more easily to read compared to what it was when it was pushed through back in 2011, which I think is an important note to make.
We're not kicking anybody out.
No, we're not,
that-
and we're not making changes that are not allowed, that are that different from back in 2011. People just didn't know about it, right? Which is a huge difference, you know?
So nothing changes. They're welcome to stay as
Right.
long as they want.
Andrea's question. If there was a unfortunate event, like a fire or a tornado or something, would that current business owner, if their building, burned or got damaged, would they be able to repair it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Would they be able to replace it if it was a total loss?
Loss. We do have standards for non-conforming buildings, but if it's in the B1 and they're rebuilding and they're not changing the footprint of their building, they wouldn't be
I think that's the
expanding
key.
their business. So they wouldn't have to meet the design requirements of the current. B1.
Okay.
Am I saying that
I think
correctly?
the footprint is the main.
It's all about the word
Yeah.
expansion.
Right, but they could rebuild their
Bring it
business.
back to where it was.
They could put back what they had and be whole.
Yeah, there's a time limit, and Andrea would
Yeah.
probably knows better than I do, but if they sit around and do nothing, the clock runs out. And they need to do it. But if they turn around and start rebuilding and, or they come to the township with permits and start moving forward, then they would be, yeah.
What is that time limit?
I believe it's 6
6 months.
So
So
that-
they'll
you
come
need to
in
be
with
here,
a plan
I think,
within
once you're-
6
Sure.
months.
Right.
And say, this is,
Right.
I'm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll be shovel ready in the spring. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Is that pretty standard in municipal zoning?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes it's a year. We could expand it to a year for this process if you wanted to.
For now, let's leave it.
Yeah, basically, there's like kind of a shot clock, and if you turn around and you're rebuilding as you were within the same footprint, then you're fine.
Anything like that.
My own question.
Next was, and I'm hoping I'm not gonna butcher your name, I apologize. Joe Cuccinelli. Cuccinelli. Oh, close, but not good. Sorry, I apologize. Echoed concerns from Ted O'Neill about the existing businesses, referencing that, and again, I'm paraphrasing, not my words, but 50 years of operation and previous renovations. Mentioned that he desired to potentially resurface the front of his building, but was worried about the cost. And I'm gonna say cost with the new design standards. He also stated he has around 4 acres and would like to add housing units over behind his current business. Expressed worry about current business owners being considered in future development plans and raised concerns about the cost of connecting to water and other utilities.
Water and the other utilities is kind of outside the scope of the zoning. It just is what it is at the county level. So what would that be? Are they already on sewer and water over on Old 28?
I took from Mr. Cuccinelli's comments that you had to hook up to water and sewer with your last project. Is that correct?
We were hooked up to sewer and water on our last renovation. Okay, we were expensive. We added approximately 3,000 square foot to the building. We added 2 sinks. And I got charged again by the township. We're hooking up the water again, like $8,000 per day. Before we didn't hook up any more water, we had it there. So now.
Yeah.
Then the other issue.
Wait, you
was-
got charged a hookup fee?
When you were already hooked up.
Already hooked- Yes.
I don't know how, we heard not shady, we heard stuff about. I'm glad they're all gone.
I didn't think that, well, it was. And this was at the point when they're going to issue a building permit within days. He says, before you can start, you gotta pay this.
Was it Steve Peterson?
Pardon?
Was it Steve Peterson?
Yes, it was.
Imagine that.
It was
And, but then he gave me somebody else.
So
we
that-
have that, and we had the water. I mean, we had a vacant land. And we covered part of what we have. And so now we've got to make sure that the water's taken care of. Of the part that's added on.
Stormwater.
It turned into a $200,000 infrastructure. To hook up to. I mean, so this is. I love you guys. I think. What your plan is beautiful. You know, the pictures are nice. But anytime. Like Reagan said, anytime you say you're from the government, you're here to help. I really get nervous.
That's it's the history of Cascade.
But be that as it may, it's nice what you're doing. Okay. But will it work?
We're going in the right direction, I think. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, or the comments from last week were good comments, but they were almost like making assumptions that I think were misunderstood. So this is, again, O'Neill's, Cascade Automotive, 200 times, everything that's there doesn't have to do anything. It's only with new, we're going to change it. We're going to make it bigger. Then then there's requirements that we're going to put in. But, the other thing too, which is we're extremely fortunate to be able to offer, I think we didn't cover this enough at the planning commission meeting. This is the zoning, right?
Yeah.
And this is targeted at redevelopment, new development. We're not kicking anybody out. If anything, it's a good thing because we're not allowing any competition. If you're a car owner, if you're a car repair shop, it's a good place to be because you don't have to worry about someone else opening shop right up next to you. You don't have to go anywhere. But for these existing, and the guy who had the hairdresser salon, J something, that guy was talking about quality, all that kind of stuff. I don't know where else you'd be able to find this, but the DDA is so fortunate. They're well funded because you're capturing a small amount of the taxes and recapturing them and reinvesting in your community. All that money before was going to the empty bus, and that's what the DDA prioritized. And it was very expensive. It took a while to get everybody back, but we're taking all that money and we're able to offer facade improvement grants, 50-50 matching. Now, granted, it has to be qualifying. You don't get to do like Domino's Pizza does a remodel, but as long as it meets the requirements for these, and we use the word quality too much, but it's basically going for the non-franchise, not auto zone, the non-28th Street. So you're keeping it smaller scale, more unique. Chris can flush it out better, but to be able to offer a 50-50 match for facade improvements is huge. And hopefully that people will take advantage of it, but that's a huge cost for that again is targeted towards existing property owners, existing business owners in this small village area. And we hope it's.
What about the road being closed?
That's a separate issue. That's not on the table. There's been, chirping about,
Well, okay, it is on your plan.
no, it's not. No, it's not.
It's not part of the zoning.
No.
Yeah, oh, no, but it is on the going.
Oh, did it put on, if it's on that concept that's been pulled back? So keep paying attention because it's still the government, but that's more on that is not for tonight, but feel free to voice your thoughts on that and pay attention. That's a contentious one. We're not.
Just
Mhm.
You know, like I said, everything that we do, if we do renovate or add a piece of footprint, I lose my front parking lot.
No, I don't. So let's do the example, because this is what we want to flush out.
Uh,
No, there's so many contingencies. Go ahead.
So,
Chris.
so one of the important things actually in, the rules for existing buildings or existing businesses that are expanding is that you are not
Mhm.
subject to the new maximum setbacks. You are subject to the building design requirements, so that you're gonna have to alter your facade. You do not have to move or, expand your building to meet all the maximum setback requirements. You're exempt from those as an existing building. So there's a section in here, they're actually called new construction, existing buildings, consecutive subsections. Existing buildings are subject to some stuff, but not everything that we go. That's a very important one for the exact reason you said.
Yeah, exactly the way it's done. So if I go off the back toward our vacant lot.
This is getting way too loosey-goosey for a board workshop. I'm sorry, this is,
Okay.
no, it's good to flush this stuff out, but this is really unfair to all the other residents. So it's not you, but it's
Yeah.
bad running a meeting on my end.
Well, we've had a call into,
To me,
yeah, and email, so.
when?
I emailed last week, I've heard back.
Who? I don't,
My name is Nick, I'm his son.
Oh, I didn't-
Owner of JT.
oh, okay, good. I didn't see it. Sorry. So, or I don't think I,
I also called and left a message, so.
okay.
So that's what.
It hasn't popped up in my email.
We'd love to.
Okay.
Bring that all up here.
This is good. We'd love to talk to you further. Sorry, I
We
didn't.
should have a meeting with the business owners on Old 28th Street.
Mhm.
I think that I've heard from,
But now.
I know, I've heard from several. I think this is, we're moving way too fast, and I think that's something we
Wait,
should
Chris-
consider.
We are not moving way too fast. This has been in the last 6 newsletters. The subcommittee worked for a year. Like every single newsletter I've put it, like I get it. We're not going to shove anything through, but I don't think we're moving fast. You guys were on the planning commission for what, 12 years? We've been doing cleanup for the last 4 years. This is nothing new. This is just part of the process. I don't think anyone's looking to shove anything through.
I'm not suggesting that. I just think we should have a meeting with the business owners of Old 28th.
Fully
Street.
agree. And I didn't see any email or get a voicemail. So
Yeah, I
So
brought
I just
that
want-
up already too, that we should get you guys in a room at the township and hear all their concerns.
Sounds
before
good.
we move forward.
we'll try it again via email and I'll look out, know what's coming.
We just want to be competitive.
It sounds like there's a lot of misconceptions, to be honest.
Well,
So this is
And-
good. We're gonna
yeah,
flush it
well,
out.
And I think that I'm hearing before this goes through, but I do think that having a meeting with the business owners, a lot of it is clarifying
Mhm.
this. It's not so much about things that need to be changed, because everything we have heard is almost misconceptions
Mhm.
of what is happening or what is in the zoning. And that is not the intent in any way from some of the messages that we have heard. So I don't think it's like, oh no, we need to go back and redo some of the stuff because of your concerns. I think that we've heard concerns similar to yours, and I think they have been addressed. But I think it's being,
I think the most effective too would be to speak directly to our planning director and then the consultant at McKenna and ask these exact questions specifically. So if I do remodel, do I have to get rid of my front parking lot? Because they're all good questions, but they have solid answers to it. And I think you need a little one-on-one with them to really flush it out. And that's the best use of your time. Why don't you guys give them your contact information at some point in the meeting? That's,
I feel like that was what trustee Norton may have been suggesting.
yeah, that's fine. But I'm just saying,
I'm
like,
suggesting it very specifically with the township board.
Okay.
yeah, but I'm,
And that would be fine.
Yeah.
these things need
We'll
to be
take these
addressed before the zoning is changed.
100%.
Like, that's the point. Point is, there needs to be more information for the.
no, the point is that we all need to understand the information that's out there. So we need the people that are paid professionals to be able to answer the questions and really flush it out. I agree that the board needs to be part of it, but zoning, none of us are experts in zoning, right? So there's actual answers here that as part of the meeting or however, but you guys, that's what really needs to happen too. The board can be part of it, but you guys need to speak directly to them about actual answers of questions.
We're available all week. You can touch base after the meeting.
And just to clarify, just because I think timing wise, we have a board meeting on Wednesday.
Mhm.
This is being introduced at the board meeting, correct? It is not the final for this to be gone through and approved at our board meeting this week. So I talked about this at the planning commission meeting as well, when we had some concerns that just because we continue to move forward does not mean that we are not listening and not able to consider concerns or questions from business owners and residents. I think that's an important thing to understand, that just because we keep moving forward doesn't mean that we have not made changes to the way. I know you can attest to this, that you have been reading through this and know that along the way, we've been listening to residents, we've been listening to business owners, and we have lists of amendments to be made as we make motions to approve these and move these forward, because we are listening. It's not because we think the document is absolutely perfect as it sits right now and that we want to rubber stamp it, move it through. That's not our intent in any way. So I think there were some people that were frustrated at the planning commission meeting that it was motion to approve with some amendments to move forward. But the idea is that we still have time, that this has to go through the board, be the first reading, and then 30 days before the next 2 weeks.
So here's an example. One of the comment, we didn't word it this way, but it was concern about another business owner on Old 20th Street, concern about unrestricted rentals and residential development. Well, I'd be concerned too, except it's just not true. There's really strict restrictions, and rentals, you can't zone whether you want a rental or an ownership. So you make it so that the zoning encourages, or it makes it not worth it to rent. It's too expensive. So it encourages ownership. So that's just something that's not true, that everyone clapped at afterwards. And I think as we flush this stuff out,
I want to flush something out
Wait,
here. I've been very consistent for over a year on density. And I don't think I've been listened to at all, because the density is still very high from one end of 28th Street to the other.
so let's
Now
go
there's
over
hotels.
specifics, because if you just say big generalizations, it doesn't get anywhere. So let's do the specific.
Okay, how many possible residential units can be in Thornapple?
Right now,
How many?
nine units.
As of now, what's our current zoning?
What is the variable done?
Could you put up this image from the slide up there? So Thornapple Center is the purple, yeah, today's zoning. What is allowed in Thornapple Center is 9 units per acre
So,
by
if-
special
and
use.
again, what's Thornapple Center?
Thornapple Center is like the D and W, and then the surrounding adjacent
It's the
strip.
The following.
The following one. Yeah.
I have no idea what they're looking at. There we go. See it? Okay. Thornapple Center, we're referring to the area in purple, which is, as was mentioned, polling warehouse, the Starbucks, the gas station, that shopping center at the bottom of 28th Street. That's what we're talking about. If that were to be redeveloped under
No, but
today's.
Chris, I'm sorry, just so they all get it. So as of now, I don't think we realized this or hit it hard at the last meeting. We already back in 2011 made the change to, we allow the town, the former board, former planning commission allowed residential.
In the current B1 district, which covers most, but most of what is on the screen right now, colored in all 4 colors, are in that B1 district, you allow 9 units per acre. Under the proposed zoning, a big lot like Thornapple Center would get 2 units per acre.
So it's actually a lot stricter.
Yeah, we dialed it significantly back. You dialed it significantly.
And I don't think any of us realized that, because it hasn't happened, 9 units per acre were by the planning commission back in the day already allowed in 2011. And also car repair shops were always, that was already changed. Their new ones are not allowed.
I heard a lot of comments at the commission meeting.
We still haven't gone through them all, but go ahead.
Okay, well, it's about this one. And sitting in the back of the room, there were a lot of people that seemed to be concerned with apartments, as you were just talking about, too many apartments. And I'm just floating the idea, does it make sense to have a ordinance or a rule in place, like a permitting process like we do with the hotels, but for larger apartments to discourage that, so that maybe they're more owner occupied condos
don't-
instead of apartments.
Do you think no, because I don't, well, okay, sorry, permitting process, I don't think that's the solution. I think it's zoning.
Yeah, it's not a zoning issue. You can have a rental registration program that has your departments, your building, your fire go in on an annual basis and check the status of each of your rentals to ensure that they meet a certain standard. So it is an extra level of regulation.
But it's not for,
But
but
it's
that
not-
doesn't, but
And I-
developers aren't usually landlords. So developer, that's done through zoning. And there were also strong arguments made by,
Against it.
Yeah.
I had brought that up in the past when we had residents concerned about their neighbor's house being rented out, and there was strong opposition.
Yeah, I would be opposed to
discussing
that. I would be opposed to that.
it also,
I'm
there's,
talking
It's a,
like-
the renters are renters. I
Oh,
mean,
but
you
if,
can't-
yeah, I'm talking like,
That's
you
totally
set a
different.
threshold, like 10 units and over, or something like that.
but it doesn't,
That's
it's,
not-
but no, I'm just saying, it doesn't,
Ideas
it
out
doesn't solve, I know, it's probably one that was someone said to you. It
No,
doesn't
I came up
solve,
with it.
developers don't care about a permit process. Developers care about what am I allowed to put in? How dense can it be? How high can it be? How cheap can I make it?
Okay, then we also have a centennial, it says like 60-foot tall buildings. How many units per acre in there for residential?
Let's go up.
Hotels, we have hotels in.
Hey, Timmy.
here, land use.
Let's go up, talk about what we have existing, because this is gonna
Can
be the
we-
same issue.
Sorry, I just feel like this is the discussion piece and that we should get through the comments. Yes. I'm
Will you
sorry.
remember that and we'll hit
Oh,
you?
he'll remember it.
Okay.
He'll remember it. You know, my point is, I just think we should get through the comments, just to get through them. And then we can move on to the round table where board members can bring up their comments, because that is what you said the agenda
Okay.
was. And I think we should that's a round table. That's a question of yours, a concern. That should be your concern when we talk about round table comments.
So next public comment.
No, I lost it.
It's,
Okay. It was Dirk. I'm gonna actually, your concern was about sidewalk maintenance on 36 and some missing traffic signs. So I'm gonna bring up instead your comment tonight for us to discuss. About the building a shed and his easement. And I know this is putting you right on the spot of not.
That's actually okay. Dirk and I have discussed this
Okay.
property before.
Yeah,
So,
and I know you guys are doing
yeah,
zones that, and I was just.
without getting too nitty gritty into the weed, I think yours is a one-on-one question, but there is space. Dirk has a 2 frontage lot where he's on a main road, and then there's it's an easement that operates like a private road. He has some space to develop his site. He is correct that he has a drain field back there. He's got a pool on his lot. He's got some trees. There's options within our existing zoning ordinance that, without going into details of Dirk's property, he has options to either seek a variance, remove some of the other structures and place the structure where the pool is. There's options, not much has changed.
With easement like that, make him have 2 front yards.
That's what I was wondering too.
'Cause I would think that's not really a road.
No, we would have to look to see if it's registered as a private road in the township. If you do already.
Can you
have
go
a
over very
private-
quickly what, as far as sheds, what the current zoning says about sheds and what, if there's any changes in the proposed zoning? Where and about
Yep.
sheds on
Current
residential?
zoning, depending on the size, if you have a 200 square foot shed, you can do it by right without any building permit that has nothing to
It's
do with
185, isn't the current somewhere number?
832 square feet. So anyone is allowed an 832 square foot accessory structure, which the shed could be considered that, and an attached or detached garage. Derek has an accessory structure on his property. We currently allow for 832 square foot accessory structures are larger than that with what's called the special use permit, which we use to determine if the larger structure is appropriate. In the new zoning ordinance, we've eliminated the special use option, and we actually have increased to the minimum accessory structure size for any lot to 1,000 square feet. And it's kind of goes up in increments based on the size of your lot, so it goes all the way up to 3,000, I believe, right now. I guess, is that clear enough, or do you want more info than that? It's good.
We can come back.
I think the big thing with the accessory buildings, the takeaway is that there's a lot of stuff that was going to the planning commission for approval that now it was just a question of a few square feet here and there that now will be approved because they were continuously being approved through the planning commission. So instead of making that more tedious for residents who want to put accessory buildings on their lot, I think that it's been streamlined more for historically what has been approved for the planning commission, which I think is important to not put that burden on homeowners or residents within the township. Next was Ken Lovell. Question definitions of quality and development standards and express concerns about affordability, wondering what quality requirements would add to housing costs. And I think my notes talked more about just about his question was about like, what does that mean for kids? That currently minimum is $300,000 to $400,000 a year. And if we're increasing quality, what does that mean for cost? And I don't think we've changed any of the requirements for our houses. The quality comments that were made at the planning commission were more directed towards the commercial and developments within these districts that we're talking about.
So he talked about,
Right.
wondering about quality, or I think he was talking about getting his daughter, like his, was he like his daughter?
I don't know
Like
about
his
that. I
daughter
just
to
know
move
that
in?
he did say something about what does that mean for kid? I quoted him on my notes. What does that mean for kids? Minimum $300,000 to $400,000 housing. Now, he was worried that we're directing quality with the cost of housing within the community, and I don't think there's a correlation between that.
We're not making, if anything, the zoning is going to continue to hold I think it holds developers, new developments up to a little bit higher standard to protect the property values for people who live here. So it's not the answer he wants, but we're not a starter community. And I think the market is what really drives that kind of stuff. So,
Right. And I think the other thing,
Bigger than Cascade.
Mhm.
I agree.
And I don't think,
And the other thing about the
shoot yourself in the foot if if our goal is affordability and quality, well, then we just tanked all of our property values. That's how you make it affordable.
And I think, I don't want to say accessibility, but the available housing, I do think is a concern. And I think that has been a concern. I don't want to talk about the school district, but I think within the school district, available housing and young families in the school district has been a concern. And I think that that's one of our main reasons for opening up possibility for condos within the village core area, is that we have heard from several elderly people within our community who live in, 3,000 to 5,000 square foot homes that don't want these big, huge homes anymore, but they also don't want to sell their home and move to a condo not in Cascade because they don't have anything available here. So I think the intent with these condos within the village core area is that we have heard from a lot of elderly residents that their kids are gone and out of the home, that there's nothing available within the community for them, that they want a condo option within Cascade, that they've lived here for a long time. Their kids grew up here. Their kids might even still live here, and that they want a place where they can walk and, go to the businesses that they're used to having. And I think that that was more of the intent within the condos in the village area, is to open up that option for some of our current residents, so then they can sell their current homes that are too big for them and potentially bring in new families within the community to just start that cycle again. But right now we are in a weird housing situation where there's just nothing available.
It's interesting that the school district would be advocating for more students since they're struggling so hard to get the ones they have to school already.
I'm not going to talk about the bus
Yep.
situation.
Thankfully, you don't have to solve every problem.
Not going to talk about the bus situation. So, sorry.
Wiggle road.
Wiggle. Okay.
Developer.
Robert Camp. He defined himself as a realtor developer, argued that extensive controls, particularly public road requirements on private roads, would make development prohibitively expensive and effectively end development in Cascade. He suggested allowing controlled private roads then, rather than requiring them to be public roads.
So this has to do with new subdivisions. Think 28th Street past Thornapple River Nursery when you go out east of
And 30.
Bustrick and you get so much of Cascade, private roads with houses coming off of them. What we didn't realize, should have realized, this is super relevant. I get why developers hate that the standards for private roads, because there's such headaches after the fact for the people who live there and all the township staff and elected officials who have to deal with what's left behind when people cut corners. But the fact that private roads need to be built to public road standards, that was actually in place since 2002. We didn't realize that. It's just that the old planning director or whoever gave exceptions and didn't enforce it. So I get why Mr. Camp wouldn't want it as someone who's hoping to subdivide, and it makes sense. He owns a large parcel of property, but that's been the case since 2002. You can't have laws and not enforce them. So, and then the only difference is the requirement to build your private road to public standards, depth, width, it's more expensive. One, we're just going to start enforcing what's already there. So that's nothing new. Two, the thing that we're going to do is you have to work with the developer has to work with the road commission. Again, the county runs the roads in Cascade. We don't. They turn it over. It has to become a public road. And that makes sense because Cascade Township has spent a disproportionate amount of taxpayer resources, monies, time, dealing with time and energy from all the problems that residents bring to us with private road complaints and all the huge amounts. So your tax, we don't need to be handling that. The developer who's coming in can deal directly with the county. And that's just going to save resources at the township level because there are a lot of headaches that we don't really have any control over, but it just takes a lot of time and money and staff time. So that makes sense from my perspective. I think it was a good catch.
There's a lot of frustrated residents. I think that
there's a lot of
frustrated
legitimate
on private roads. They don't understand. They move there thinking, oh, I got a private road. But then when something happens, how many times have we talked about the private road between Walmart and the planning commission section?
Worse.
I don't think I've ever seen a private road agreement that has been filed with the township for that private road behind Walmart that everybody complains about all of the time. And we're just trying to eliminate that in certain.
So that would have been helpful at the planning commission meeting to have been brought up. I didn't realize that, but essentially that standard already exists. The only difference is we're actually going to enforce our laws or our existing ordinances. But I could see why he doesn't like it.
I think one of the big issues is it's one thing to be held to the standard, but it's another thing to require that road to be turned over to the county, because will the county accept the road?
I don't know the process well enough. I don't know. But I also, which is too loosey.
The county is pretty particular as to accepting a road or a design for a road. One of the requirements, of course, is big turnaround so that large trucks can turn around.
Sure.
And that there's some place to maintain the snow clearance, grade up to the existing public road. For instance, many of our private roads here in the township would never be accepted because they're like that or like that.
So the
But that's-
alternative is
That's the point. Like,
it's not
we're not
Cascade residents.
We're not the road commission. But if we have standards that already say you have to meet all of the minimum standards for the road commission that have not been upheld, but if we're going to start enforcing them, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the road commission, but I don't know why they wouldn't accept the road as long as it was actually built to their standard.
Nope.
Talking about two different things.
No, I think the question is though, if the standard is what it is and we're not changing it. You have to be built up to public standard.
Agreed.
Agreed it wasn't, now we realize it wasn't enforced, but now we're just gonna enforce it, right? The person asking that's a developer question. The developer should work with the county to figure that out. And it's not fair for the developer to put that onerous, that burden on Cascade Township. So the developer is gonna have to work with one entity, one or the other.
Which
The
they do.
township, yeah.
Which they do.
So the developer works with either the township or the county, and we're saying, work with the entity that controls and maintains the road. It's not fair for new developers that aren't gonna live there to put the burden on taxpayers to handle this kind of stuff. We don't own and operate the roads. It makes sense for the government entity to be the one that actually does that.
So designing it to their spec and having it turned over to be a county road are two very different things.
Yes,
But also,
Cascade doesn't-
That is talking about wider roads that are gonna look more like Kentwood streets, not like the nice unique character that you get in a private. road.
yeah, I know. It's a developer. It's, you can't have it both ways. We're not gonna make everybody,
Need to not be wide.
yeah, we're not gonna make everybody happy. And I know that
We're not
there's a lot of developers that, I mean, it makes sense, but you just can't do it that way anymore. I get you don't like it, but I think for the people that live here and pay taxes and want to preserve Cascade for the character,
All of us do live.
Okay, so basically what we're.
but you're having it from your developer hat. You're not talking about it as a resident, Jeremiah. You have it, your developer hat on for
It's
profit.
wide, that looks like-
Yeah, but also this isn't public comment. This is a board work session. I'm letting it get way too loosey-goosey. So I think if you have, we need to just have the work session continue. And you had plenty of time. We're available for questions. This is our third meeting. We'll have another one on Wednesday. Plenty of time to engage, but this will go off the rails if it becomes just yell at the board during the middle of work session. I'm already way too informal.
Nancy Erdley opposed the form-based code approach, arguing, again, paraphrasing, arguing that it leaves zoning decisions open to subjective criteria, questioned the viability of walkable village concept and advocated for business-friendly zoning instead, opposed residential development and star and centennial overlays, preferring to maintain the business tax base. My notes from her actually stated that she thought the idea of a village, a walkable village, is laughable. And I think that she said something to the effect that if you mean by walkable, I can walk from a restaurant to a clothing store next door, then that's fine. But anything else, she does not think will happen. And she has never seen one person in Castle Park, I believe was what she said.
I think she was referring to the park next to the museum, not Castle Park. Based on the way she was talking, that's how I interpreted it.
That's, no. Okay.
I think I get what she was saying, but I
I've
just don't
seen
think she
people
was
there all the
right.
time.
I think she was mistaken about what form-based code is. But
So, in form-based code in general does not have, non-objective and undefined criteria, correct? I mean, that's the whole idea of form-based code is it's very defined. And it truly states what can and cannot happen. Trying to think of anything. The other thing is just the park situation. Just as a board member and a member of the planning commission, I've seen more people walking through Cascade Road down to 28th Street, Old 28th Street, Thornapple River Drive section in the last 2 years than I've seen the last 20 years that I've lived here. And I think that I've seen so many in the last 2 to 3 years, kids with their little fishing poles, with or without their parents, going to Castle Park to be able to enjoy the river. And I think that if we're gonna drag into it, the park situation within Cascade and within the village situation, I think that our goal is to, obviously by purchasing Tuffy and Verberg's, is to expand that and to make it more accessible for residents. And I don't know, I have seen people at the other park, kitty corner from Castle Road as well. I've seen people using the drinking fountains in there. I've seen them filling up, getting their pets water there. I could go on.
I don't think it's laughable. I don't think it's gonna be perfect, but one, how do you define a village? And two, we might as well try since that's the number one priority of what our feedback was for the strategic plan. I mean, it's easy to throw critiques out there, but I think that we've worked really hard in coming up with a realistic plan for a very small area. I think it's the way to go.
Jordan Painter reiterated concerns about private road restrictions, making development cost prohibitive, noting current building costs already approaching 1.5 million in some areas. Same road concerns, I guess, about private roads.
I just don't I would just ask, why didn't we enforce that for anyone who was on the planning commission or on the board of trustees back in that day? Why didn't we just do what we had in our zoning before?
We did. It was 19, it says you can have up to 19 homes.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about private roads up to
like,
public standards.
On an 18-foot wide road that has to be built to the public standard.
No, but why did we
Base
just,
and-
we didn't do it
and
though.
grade. I think we did. That's why we don't get complaints on the newer roads.
have you
Manchester
ever-
Hills,
like,
Maracaibo Shores.
Those are really
Those
old.
other
No,
ones,
those are,
those
there's
are really
newer
old.
ones.
They are, but they're all built to
Some of
that
the
standard.
newer ones, I'm just gonna give, and I
I don't know the Manchester.
some of the newer ones are like Country 28th Street. Do you
Yeah,
agree that there's
Burstone?
new developments out there?
What,
Burwood. Yes, sorry,
How wide
Burwood.
do you think that street is?
18 feet?
Are we putting-
That's what the standard is.
I know what the standard is.
I've been arguing for years that it should be wider. I was gonna bring that up later in the meeting. But that's,
I believe our private roads are looked at, I know they are. that we
Okay,
deal with-
next comment, sorry.
Well, no, time out.
You can come up to the podium and speak during public comment. I think that Grace just said that this isn't gonna be shouting things from the audience and saying what you wanna say.
Well, that's because it's a board work session and if it's just a
We had public
Town hall
comments in the
meeting.
beginning and you guys did not
So I
come
guess-
and speak.
short answer on the roads, nothing's changing except that developers would have to work with the county, not the township, which the township doesn't handle roads anyways.
I think that
But it
the
is-
developers do work with the county today. I
Yeah,
think
do.
every time they put a road in, they have to submit it.
I think I was doing, I was just saying, we do work. with them. What we do with
Yeah.
18 foot, and that's back on that. we do with the county right now.
I can't speak to whether it was enforced or not, Grace. I'm just saying, I hear what Mike's saying, and I know that developers have to submit it to the county. Maybe it wasn't the county that wasn't enforcing their own rules.
Well, if someone has the concern about I don't know what the road commission,
every time they came to the planning commission, there was a letter of an approval from the county.
yeah, I'm not even saying that. Some comment was, well, it's not, that it should go to the township, not the,
For those who used to be on the planning commission, and I'm saying, we did that.
The problem is we are
No,
doing these things where the problem lies is when it comes time to turn it over to the road commission. They're not gonna accept a road, which means we effectively have crucified any development in the township.
well, we'll have to look into that because we can look into that.
Yeah, I was just gonna agree that we built some county, but I was gonna turn that into a question, that's what I was really trying to do.
Yeah,
Is the number of homes, or is that's what's being changed, the number of homes that can be on a private road?
Yes.
yep.
Yeah,
That's what.
and I reviewed
I was not limited,
Michael's
or is it-
project.
I don't know what it was.
It was
Yeah,
19.
the process would stay exactly the same, and we actually just reviewed under administrative site plan review, a lot split for 4 lots, which the process that we just went through for your property on 46th Street.
Okay.
There was 4 lots, there was one that was split to become 4 lots, that would still not need to meet, it would not be handed over to Kent County. We're
Because it
still
doesn't meet
allowing
that
up to
threshold?
4 lots. And that process would not.
I mean,
It
it
would
would be
be-
the same process, the same approval, which involves Kent County.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
Okay.
understand.
But-
But then the limit now is from 19.
But there is a change in, yep.
And now, yeah.
That's
was
changed.
different,
Mhm.
That's,
Much
that's-
bigger conversation.
This is probably procedurally best if we push this to later in the meeting, but as a suggestion, we could alter the language to say the developer is required to attempt to turn the road over to the county. If the county rejects it and it meets all of our standards and has an acceptable maintenance agreement, that will allow us a private road. Something of that nature that makes them go through all those steps. And if it's the county that's the bad guy and we don't have control over it, developers have control over it, then we move on to a backup
It
process.
seems incredibly bureaucratic. I mean, I'm sure the county moves at a lightning speed.
they would have to get their driveway permits anyway, so.
But then the point is, it's for the county to take it over. I mean, the county's gonna move real fast to say yes or no to that.
And they're not gonna accept an 18-foot wide road.
That's my point. And but it will take you 90 days before you get that letter saying they will not take it over.
33 feet.
So I don't understand okay, I just gotta say something. I don't understand what you just said. We're talking about private roads have to be public road standards.
Right.
But then you're saying that if we want the county to take them over, they have to be 33 feet, not
Right.
18 feet.
Correct.
So then the county standard or the public road standard then should be 33 feet, not 18. I don't
That's-
understand this.
That's the problem, is our ordinance contradicts.
Well,
But
why did we
we've
allow
done what
this?
our ordinance says.
So,
I don't
But
think so.
I think it says.
No.
If our
I
ordinance
don't think
says they
that's-
have to be up to
no.
public roads.
Or
standards.
people
But it
have
also
been
says
in-
they only need to be 18 feet wide.
That would be, that is confusing.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so that's a yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, we're fixing, we're
Let's move
clarifying it.
forward on the comments. I got a
Chris,
whole bunch of
no,
stuff.
yeah, I think maybe put this on the list to discuss
Yep.
later. Once treasurer reports on stuff. But I think it should be, and I think it is a good point of discussion.
Will you guys keep track of the points of discussion? Yes.
All right. Michelle Lauer, raised concerns about conflicts with the strategic plan designations for, I'm paraphrasing what somebody else wrote. Strategic plan, designations for park green space areas. Requested effective data on traffic environmental impacts and warned about cost of existing residents from the zero setback requirements that you brought up again tonight, and potential wildlife disruption. I think we talked about some of these comments, that parks and green space are allowed within the village, and we've talked about expanding the current parks within the village. And strategic plan designation, we took that into consideration as well. The environmental impact, one of the things to remember too, that currently, we're talking about a lot of the village core area. Right now, it's almost, a lot of it is just impervious surfaces. We're talking about the big parking lots and stuff like that, or huge parking lots in front of buildings, on front and back of buildings. And I do think that the redesigning of this does add, when we're talking about redevelopment of those areas, adding green space back into them, which is not there currently. Anything else?
No, just or to come back to that point about few areas that might be affected by rear setbacks near the village core.
Yeah, just to put that on then.
Note too, there are wetlands that protect a lot of the northern portion of the village core as well. That was considered.
David Prendeville addressed dissatisfaction with the proposed Victorian architectural style that is one of the options within the form-based code.
We changed the picture because it's true, it was a weird picture. You'd never be able to recreate it like an 1890s giant Queen Anne home, but we did find some more realistic, modern examples of realistic Victorian styles that have like just certain, classic design elements that, but that was a good point. We tried to add more pictures to the form-based code section, and we added 2 additional, what is it, federal,
Yeah.
kind of like
We
the
had-
gathering space.
We had some comments after the board meeting or after the planning commission meeting from a resident and somebody on the DDA suggesting a couple of different styles as well that are time frame within the time of when Cascade was originally built up and different things. So we'll have more discussion on that later about adding a couple of more style options within the form-based code that I think fit with the period of Cascade and when it was developed.
It's kind of sounded, I think, to people unrealistic, super expensive, and like a pipe dream. So if we flush out form-based code, I think that'd be helpful.
I saw 1812 roof pitch.
That was for that picture that used to be in there.
Pretty steep.
Is that a requirement?
We can revisit
Okay.
that. That is the roof pitch requirements on the Victorian. So we can expand that.
So it would be nice to have like the West Bluff on Mackinac Island, but we have to be realistic. We're not going to get it.
That's the max fish. You could go to 10, 12, and it's still okay. So anything 10, 12, 18, 12, which is still steep, but that's what Victorian architecture is.
But it's not a
Well, you're
requirement.
not required to pick that one either. And by the way, you guys have a height maximum, right? So that's actually gonna make the rest of the village shorter,
So
it's taller, so. We can talk about these things, but that's.
Jim Schumer this paraphrasing is very short compared to my notes. I had to make sure I was on the right one. Emphasize the importance of maintaining current community standards. So emphasize the importance of maintaining current community standards and express concerns about imposed quality standards, arguing the market already forces drive quality, and he questioned parking requirements for buildings close to the road. He owns some commercial property between JT's and Cascade Road. I think there's two, I don't want to call them strip malls, but they're strip malls between JT's and Cascade Road. And he mentioned that the whole old 28th Street is a community and that is important. He talked about current maintenance being expensive and that he's already tried to put money into his place to keep it up. And that he is more concerned, it sounds like, that our increase in quality is going to restrict renters because he's going to have to increase his rent to be able to keep up with the standards. And I think that the main thing that was relayed to him at the planning commission meeting, and I think one of the main things now is that any current businesses we're not imposing new standards upon, but he can continue to maintain his current business structure and renting out to who he does and upgrades that he chooses to do to his current building. We are not restricting those in any way.
I think his statement that market forces already drive quality, and again, he's a landlord. It's just, then we'd have a bunch, if that were true, then instead of seeing Dollar Trees and Walmarts in communities and areas with lesser zoning, you'd see attractive downtowns. It's just, I think the opposite's true.
Next was Tricia Hilkema. She thanked the commission for avoiding Ada's development pattern. She did request or wondered what kind of protections could be put in against historic home tear downs and asked about road infrastructure plans for increased density. And I do think that was one of her main concerns, which I think is a concern of everybody that drives through Ada, how sad it was that all these beautiful historic homes got torn down as part of their redevelopment. So we had an attorney at the meeting who pretty much said we can't really restrict some things. But I don't know if you have more to say. Nope.
But we
And
should talk about
current-
the
yeah.
scale when we do that. So when we talk about form-based code, that kind of stuff. Big concern that we hear is we don't want to look like Ada. We don't look like Ada. Although there's some good things that you could take. Can we really focus in on what our zoning is proposing for size of the building, scale? Can you have one of those big giant buildings that looks like 5 different buildings? I think that's a super important aspect of it.
Yeah, I think do you want me to speak to this one?
Well, are we stepping in now
Yeah.
or are we bringing?
We'll bring it up.
Okay.
Handle this
Yeah.
stuff.
Next, Deb McDonald, she's a tenant of Jim Schumer's, the strip mall between JT's and Cascade Road. She is a current resident of Ada, so she expressed concerns about Ada and she's worried about similar issues developing in Cascade due to walkability and mixed use.
Just that goes to road planning and
Right, and I think that one of the big issues is, curb cuts and how many people can come out in and out of businesses, and that's a big issue within Cascade of the number of curb cuts they have with all of their businesses that they have. And I think that we have tried to decrease the number of curb cuts and requiring efficient use of street design when we're talking about redevelopments, not just saying, oh, everybody gets a curb cut to come back out into Cascade Road or into 28th Street, trying to limit that to get people to use street lights and intersections. And I think that that's a big piece with the zoning that we try to mitigate because we know it's already currently an issue, even though it's nowhere near the issues that Ada has. JR, he was another tenant of Mr. Schumer's. He felt that existing businesses were being left behind by the new development standards and questioned the Victorian architecture style within the form-based code. Again, I don't think I think I said this at the planning commission meeting, there's no intent in any way of the planning commission or of this board, and I will speak on behalf of every one of us, is to leave out current business owners or businesses that are operating within Cascade Township. I don't think that that is our intent in any way, to drive out, to make people change, to harm or to do anything to current owners within the township.
I think
The same thing.
this would arguably, over time, if it's implemented, is most likely to increase the property values in those areas. So as a property owner, landlord, can't guarantee it, but I think it would.
Dan Lauer emphasized infrastructure concerns with increased density, particular trash management, requesting consideration of vertical building trends in our height restrictions, which I think we've addressed most of those with the planning commission. I think there were some changes that have been made to reduce the total stories, which I think that there was a piece that had been left out of the initial draft, and that was corrected
It's 60 feet now.
within a village. Is that what we're talking?
35 feet in the village.
65 feet pretty much, or 60 feet pretty much everywhere else.
West of 96 or along 20.
Well, I'll put down.
We'll talk about that.
So this is a big one to really flush out, right? Amount of units,
Yeah.
height.
You can go district by district.
Yeah, well, and I think I have one more comment in here, but I think talking about one of Deanne's questions about increased density, infrastructure, I do think there were some concerns that maybe were not particularly put into these notes, but concerns about traffic and increased congestion on 28th Street and Cascade Road. And I thought about it because I was at the meeting and listened to it, and I think that it's very hard because I think that there are 3 reasons why we have so much congestion on 28th Street and Cascade Road, and most of them are completely out of our control. Cascade and 28th Street are highway emergency routes for I-96. People, those 2 streets are extremely busy. Mostly are commuters from outside of our township. Caledonia's building a huge development across from Kettle Lake Elementary School, 100 and some houses. I don't know where you think those people are going to go, but they're going to drive down Cascade Road to 28th Street to get onto the highway, up and down that road all of the time, because that's where the nearest community is with Walmart and Meijer and all of those. It's not something, we can't control that with a zoning document to prevent Lowell or to prevent Ada or to prevent Alto or to prevent Caledonia from allowing bigger developments within their communities because it's outside of us. And I think everybody here is frustrated with the traffic on Cascade and 28th Street. We all don't like it when it's super busy. The other thing that causes those roads to be extremely congested is car accidents or construction on 96. I mean, when there's construction going on 96, especially if there's a car accident in the middle of it, everybody's GPS is rerouting them off that highway onto either Cascade Road, 28th Street, all the way down to Cascade Road and out to Alden Nash. Everybody's GPS is doing that. We can't control that. Yes, it's super frustrating, but that's nothing that we can control within the zoning and make any changes. The other reason that Cascade and 28th Street is busy is because we have huge big box stores within our community. We have Costco, we have Target, we have Meijer, we have Walmart. Everybody from all of these communities are coming into Cascade to use these big box stores. And I think that that is the one thing that we did try to look at within our zoning to say, hey, is this something that our community wants to keep encouraging within our township? And I think that tell me if I'm wrong, the minimum lot size for a development before this was 3 acres. What are we encouraging with a 3 acre minimum lot size on 28th Street? We're encouraging Target to come into town and build a new Target in Cascade or whatever huge big box store wants to come in. And I think that one of the main concerns was how to allow for redevelopment within 28th Street corridor to make it more of a small quaint feel versus those big box stores that are, I mean, you drive by, there's hundreds of cars in their parking lot. Those people have to get there somewhere, and they're taking 96, 28th Street and Cascade Road to get there. And I think those were some of the big questions and concerns we had from residents. And a lot of that is out, that doesn't have to do with our zoning. The intent with the zoning was to try to reduce and to fix some of the traffic concerns on 28th Street.
No question, the old zoning was written in a way to attract box stores.
Right, right. And you sat on the subcommittee. You know, that was one of our concerns on one of the things that we have heard from residents that we wanted to try to fix. And I think, you know, trying to make it, I know we have developers in here telling us we're anti-development, but I think that one of the things we looked at hard was how can these areas, whether it be the business parks or the big box stores or empty storefronts, how can they be redeveloped in a way that hopefully is cost effective and that will allow a developer to be able to put in and redevelop some of these places into smaller, more quaint shops, which I think is what we're looking for.
So one example, we kind of hit it at the planning commission.
The last question was just from Scott Van Solkom, and it was about the
Accessory dwelling.
accessory dwelling.
Can we address that when we go
We'll
through
put
that?
that on there.
Were there any other public comments? I don't have any.
No, that was the last one I had.
So we can either hit the talking points right now, do round robin with the board.
I would do the talking points first.
Okay. And that, again, this is discussion, so now's the time to speak up.
So I heard 4 categories for the board to discuss in the planning commission comments and then the discussions that we had sort of as that was going. And each one has some subtle comments, but there's 4 big ones. 1 is private roads. 2 is the form-based code, and specific requirements. 3 is building heights, just generally all districts, and 4 is accessory buildings.
What's the 4th one?
Accessory buildings. Does anyone hear anything during that discussion that isn't in one of those categories?
Density,
Yeah.
height and density.
Yeah,
Got it.
especially in the,
And when we hit that density height, can we go through each zone and talk about what is currently allowed for, I didn't realize that we already allow some, and then what the proposed change would be
Yes.
for each area.
Want to do that and building heights before we get into the more specific. So first one I have on my list is private roads. Is that okay? Let's start. You start with the 4. I'm just gonna kind of go down the way that the draft ordinance deals with private roads. So it starts from a point of saying private roads aren't allowed except. And then there's a lot under that except, but it starts from that place. Now, it doesn't have to do that. But the reason it started from that place is because we've had so many problems with private roads. And the idea is that they should only be occurring when standards are met, right? So that we have confidence that 50 years from now, someone's filling the potholes of that private road and that it is designed in a way that is safe from both up down. Within the form-based code and the overlay districts, private roads are allowed with significant standards that basically take the county road commission standards and boost them another level by adding street trees and sidewalks in that kind of.
So that,
Why?
can you define the area though, just so we,
Yes, that's the 28th Street corridor and its surroundings. So this is the Star Business Park, the Glenwood Business Park, Centennial Business Park, those surroundings, the Waterfall Shops area, Target, etc. And then the form-based code, which was on the screen before, and that's the the library, and then down the hill to the river, etc. Redevelopment in those areas, private roads are allowed. They just have very high standards if they're going to be built. That's what the current draft says. Outside of those areas, private roads are limited to accessing 4 residential units. if a private road access for residential units, and the standards for that private road are in section 10.2, and they include things like the 18-foot width. And those, is my understanding, those are not Kent County Road Commission standards. They come in underneath, there are less stringent than Kent County Road Commission standards. And that's fair because we're talking about 4 dwellings.
Mhm.
And could be fair up to some higher number of dwelling units or size. Anything beyond that, the ordinance does say you have to meet Kent County Road Commission standards. And my understanding of that is that they will base this a little bit on the land use, but yes, they are going to be far more stringent. In terms of width and construction, et cetera. And then it does say in the draft that you must dedicate that road to the Kent County Road Commission. Now, I think it's a very worthy topic of conversation to say what happens if they say no. So, as well as all the rest of this, of course, is up for revision and discussion. So that's where we're at with practice.
May I add one more thing too? This is almost identical to the existing private streets ordinance that was adopted in 2002. Our intent was to put it in one place because I think part of the reason that it got overlooked so often is because it wasn't on general code online and it wasn't part of an ordinance that when somebody comes to develop in the township, they know to just grab all these documents and review them for compliance. So that was one of the reasons I put it in the zone.
Okay.
Back to Chris for what we.
I will say that probably the biggest change from the ordinance that Andrea just referenced is that maximum number of houses on a private road getting reduced from 19 to 4.
I think that's an important change.
I can outline the reason for that change. I will, shouldn't be understood as advocacy. I don't get to advocate from this seat. I didn't win any election, you guys did. The purpose of that is, and I'll just say it, is to discourage private roads in the rural parts of the township. Because we want to keep those parts rural, and building a private road will split land into more smaller lots, build more houses, and less trees and less farmland. So it's for the board to balance that consideration against the rights of property owners to split their land. And to make sure that just to give one more piece of important context here, the minimum lot size in our FP and RC, so that's farmland preservation and rural conservation zoning districts, is 10 acres in FP and 10,000 square feet, so 2.3-ish acres in rural conservation.
I think that's 100,000 square feet.
What did I say? 10,000? Yeah, I misspoke. 100,000 square feet. 100,000 square feet in rural conservation. For most property owners, if they want to hit those minimums, they will not have enough road frontage on a public road to make lots that small. And they will need to add a private road in order to split their land into the maximum number of lots. Thus, the restriction on private roads to discourage those max out splits.
There's not much left in Cascade. Some people say Cascade's already built out, and it would basically be east of Buttrick, some parts of us east of Buttrick primarily, but even 28th Street east of Buttrick.
So the
Pretty
private road issue that we have, I believe relates to a lot of older private roads that were built prior to our private street ordinance. Am I wrong in saying that? I mean, most of the problems we have are related to maintenance, and I think most of the newer developments that have the private roads have associations to collect dues and handle the maintenance of the roads. It's the spots like behind Walmart where that didn't happen that are more problematic.
I think it over time as the roads age,
That's when
they're
we
not
have
getting the
to-
maintenance like a public road would. So I think it's just you wait till it becomes a certain age and it's gonna be a problem.
And I have heard from residents on private streets frustrated because they pay taxes and their tax dollars go to maintain public streets. My public street gets mill and filled every 5 to 10 years or 10 years, whatever it is. And they are frustrated because they are paying taxes and that their tax dollars are being used to mill and fill all these other streets, but we're not doing it for them. And that has been a huge concern with residents on private streets maybe not fully understanding. But it is a complaint that we hear quite often. Because their streets are not, even though they have a private road agreement, they're not quite to that point. They're frustrated when it comes budget time and we're budgeting money
They
to.
want a piece of property. They understand what they signed up for. Why are you guys?
We're not, I already am getting glare, that we gotta have some decorum, so. We're well,
So-
happy to talk to people afterwards, but just yelling comments in the middle of the board discussion. These are all elected trustees. It just, that means anyone. If I'm gonna allow it for you, then I have to allow it for everybody. If I allow it for everybody, it's a joke. So I like hearing it, but you can't go down the road. You gotta be able to bite your tongue during this time period. It's only that, otherwise it's not fair. We'll get to be swayed by someone with a specific opinion in the middle of our deliberations. That's totally unfair to the 20,000 residents who live here who may not agree with you.
I'm wondering if we're going from one extreme to the other and maybe there's.
Do you think we're going from one extreme to the other?
How can they possibly answer?
I agree, quiet, but that's not a decision for us to make. You guys, the policy will be enforced.
No, I just wonder, yeah,
I
but
don't go from 19 to 4. I think maybe their slide rule.
oh, that,
I'm
I just
hearing
didn't
this
misunderstood
Monday
what
and-
part. Well,
you
think
know.
about what direction you want to go and what issues we've had.
Yeah.
I think other.
No, we're not doing it. I'm sorry. I would love it, but it's just not fair. There's 20,000 people that live in this township. This is the one time for the board to discuss. If we get certain people with certain opinions, interjecting them, that's not fair to everybody at the township. You may not agree with what we're saying. You may think we're idiots, but it's not what you're saying. It's the fact that you're saying it right now, totally inappropriate. I'd let it go, but it's just not fair to the board or everybody else.
That's what we refer to the work session.
No, sorry, it's not. I mean, it is, it's public. But it's,
The only time the board gets together like this to talk about these things is here. So it's not like we have an opportunity, the 7 of us, to sit in a room and discuss this prior to this meeting. This is the
it's
first
really
time.
hard to watch people get back and do it, but it has to
been
be
together.
some level of structure.
This is part of the transparency, I feel.
Yeah, you're probably
This
not used
board
to it.
Trying to have these open conversations amongst ourselves and staff in front of public so that you understand and can hear what we're saying and where we're coming from. But it is our work session right now.
And you really can't. It's really unfair because it's so easily to sway. We don't want to go against an angry mob.
I think we all would agree that we'll give them opportunities for public comment at the end. I think you mentioned that earlier, I mean.
Stand up.
You gotta get
state
there.
your address and your name.
Sorry, so I get it. You're trying to understand it. We're trying to keep it from,
So are we trying to
Going down
solve
south.
for the farmland thing, Grace and Wendy? Like, is that like why we're limiting it from 19 to 4?
We're not the only people that were on the subcommittee that
The three-
yeah,
Wendy,
everybody-
Scott,
Brian came up with that
Ray.
idea.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, I'm just like,
that was, I think, the initial,
His idea.
that was the
stop
initial.
development, but it does
Slow.
prove it.
To slow.
Well, do you
One
want to
of- hang on,
maintain?
one of the strategic plan.
I just want to understand the impetus.
Yeah,
of
no,
it.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
but one of the
Yeah.
questions too, and the concerns from residents were the concern that we have farmland and we have conservation areas and that we are truly a township, even though we have 28th Street and I-96 and Cascade Road running through us, was the preservation of open space within the community. That was identified as a concern of residents throughout the strategic plan process. And since that was a concern for residents, as a member of the subcommittee, that was one of the things that we addressed. And so when you look at those, if this is a concern, how can we address this based on the zoning document, which is supposed to support our strategic plan and our master plan, which our master plan already limits utilities and things of that nature in these areas that we're discussing. So that is how we got there in this document. This was one of the things, in addition to all of the concerns that we have heard about private roads.
I don't think it's fair to say one person trying to stop development at all, but if the overall theme, I guess, that I've heard
It
since
wasn't
being
stopping,
elected,
it was preserving.
the overarching, overwhelming theme, when you look at Cascade Township, that's part of West Michigan is booming. We're under immense growth pressures. We've got the airport that's the second largest. It isn't talked about, but the old leadership, the old people that ran this had us tuned up to be becoming Romulus, Michigan, and we have completely put the brakes on that. But when you are an high value, a desirable residential community, we're completely at odds with the second, with their desires for industrial expansion, the expansion of the airport. That's huge. And that doesn't get talked about enough because it's not right in front of people's faces. But the way we had the zoning done before, it was set to explode with light industrial, which then would give them at least 2 additional on-off ramps just east of the airport off Thornapple River Drive, which is part of their long-term plan. So for the people that live here, every single newsletter, if you get a vision or you get a theme, I would say it boils down to, which I didn't hear it before, and I didn't see it with development patterns. 1, preserving Cascade, our township's unique character, especially in light of this immense development pressure, not just industrial, but also residential. Where do developers want to build because it's the most profitable if you're a residential builder? Cascade Township. It makes sense. I would too, but so it's immense development pressure. And then also maintain or enhance existing residents' quality of lives. So that meant we have been very lax people would disagree, I guess, but holding developers to higher standards. Taxpayers that live here when they're wearing their resident hats overwhelmingly support us or support the idea of maintaining character. If you want it to become a spider web of Anglesma homes, subdivisions, that's one thing, but the people who got in on 28th Street east of Buttrick, everyone who lives there who actually, once you buy it, are overwhelmingly screaming, we don't want any more. So we can't make everyone happy, but if you're gonna, I think that 19-4 preserves the little bit of Cascade Township that actually is rural. I get it if I'm a developer that focuses on, that kind of development, I wouldn't like it, but I think it's important unless you want to just have everything built out.
So this is super helpful and I appreciate that.
And
Why-
we can't make everyone happy.
Understood. Why, and again, like if I think about like the top 5 private roads, it's definitely, 4 or 5 in the responses I'm getting. Why 4? Why not 5? Why not 3? Was there a reason that we got to 4? Is there movement at all from 4 and above or?
Chris, will you
There can
flush
be.
that out?
Yeah.
And also, so essentially you're making a driveway, right?
Yeah.
So a driveway, so then you get like.
I live on a road with a private road
Yeah.
with 4 homes, so
So-
I get it.
And it makes, and the same concept is that terrible road behind Meyer that kept being expanded and you're putting, assisted living centers back there. Like when you're doing a private road and you're allowing more and more, but we should flush out where the number 4 came from. I don't remember, although I do support it.
I think you described it pretty accurately, so Trustee Nordyke, it's the number of houses that can sort of reasonably share a quote unquote driveway. So if we're allowing a lower standard of road that is gonna be more of a driveway than a road, then that's about the right number of houses. Now, to the question of whether there's wiggle room, I think that's up to the board, but there's no.
We're not asking you for wiggle room. I'm just trying to understand. I'm not asking for wiggle. I'm trying to understand how we arrived at 4. I mean, I live on a private street before. I get it. I'm just trying to is this aligning to a very specific
I don't
goal?
remember how, I didn't even know it was 19. I don't know.
So
I think there's a number.
to reiterate the goal.
I can't imagine 19 though. That's nuts.
No, I agree.
I
But I
think-
can see.
Yeah, I think
something
that
more in the middle,
I
but-
think that the
Really?
key was we went
I tried.
from it being more of a
Not 100%.
road
Yep.
that had 19 houses on it to now considering it more of a shared driveway.
Yep.
Which the reasonable amount for a shared driveway would be 4 homes. I think that was more of the mindset of how we got from one extreme to, it was pretty much, we have all these private roads. We hear all these concerns from residents about different things going on. Do we want to allow them or don't we, based on the development of the ARC and rural areas? And then 2, because once we allow them, it allows for all these land splits. So I think that was a piece of it. And then the second was, what do we want to do to allow them access to be able to have a shared driveway of some sort? 4 seemed like the accurate number to.
Andrew, question, I know this is before you were here that this happened, but Manchester Hills is, I believe that is all private. Am I not mistaken?
I think Watermark is too.
Yep.
Okay,
Watermark
and
is
there's way
big.
more than 19 houses on, I know they have 2 entrances though. Does the private
Yeah.
road ordinance change the number if you have 2 entrances, or how does something like?
Private road ordinance does change that, but both of those are subdivisions, so they're divided with a different rule than just a land.
Gotcha, okay, so that falls under.
But that falls under the same subdivision
road.
law, right?
Okay,
Would those subdivisions be allowed, Andrea, under the current proposed zoning?
If
It's a
they
state.
handed yes, we
It's a
can't do
state,
much
right?
about subdivisions.
No, I'm saying, so if a new one came in, because I think those two are very nice, and those are comments that Scott and I both have received, that, hey, you couldn't do Manchester Hills, you couldn't do Watermark, and is that accurate or inaccurate?
No, you could likely.
Identical to how it is today.
Yeah, you could likely work with the county to get those roads taken over.
Those
If
are,
you look
those
at-
are above us.
If you look at 1701 Spalding, do you recall that we had in the planning commission a couple years ago, or last year?
no,
That one, a couple times, that one did have a portion of the road there accepted by the county. So they will accept roads with smaller, like, that don't have a entire loop.
Have we
They-
spoken to the road commission at all about this new proposal and get their feedback?
I was just talking to someone who's interested in developing their land and said we'd love to be in on that conversation.
Yeah.
Because we'd like to open up those lines of communication.
Thank you.
so if we have 4 in there now, we were at 19 before. At 19 before, the road had to be 18 feet wide, and the 18-foot wide road had to be built to the county standard.
That's
Okay,
the width,
not the width,
actually, MDOT.
yeah, the base and all that.
Materials that they use.
Most of that language is from the existing one.
Correct, correct. So, okay, so what if we did, hearing all of the comments here, okay, I'm just throwing something out. What if we did something along the lines of, instead of 4, what if we took the 19 and we cut it in half and did 8 and required it to be 22 feet wide instead of,
That's 19.
I know, I'm rounding down.
Nine and a half.
I'm rounding down to 8. So, and then we, I wonder if you had I think the county requires us, further roads, what do they require, like a 60-foot easement? 66 foot. Okay, so we would require that anyway. All right, is there any way to put in an agreement that if the, probably not, that if the association or whatever doesn't maintain it properly, that it could be, transferred to the county?
That's not on the, we don't want,
You can't-
we do not, that's what people come to us all the time wanting, that's not out of our hands.
So we would have to do a special assessment district. Is that I'm saying? So, and we write that into the agreements
Right.
that we can.
And oh, it's actually in the ordinance.
Yeah.
But you-
The real safe is that a special assessment district, actually, it's a little bit like when you mow someone's grass and send them a bill for blight violation. It literally says in the ordinance that the township shall pay to upgrade the road and then put a special assessment district. It doesn't give anyone a choice.
So they're an
That's
automatic.
why the HOA like fails, goes broke, stops
Right.
funding itself, yeah.
So we have that backup.
That's, yeah, I actually don't know if this is a current ordinance or not, it's in the draft.
That's good. It's a lot of
It is.
energy and resources for the township to do that.
Now, we had that in a previous ordinance for stormwater, and then when we went to do it, we were told that we couldn't because the language wasn't right. So we should have our
Sure.
attorneys review that language to make sure that they.
I think that's wise.
I
I think
We already
have,
did,
but-
we already did, it, but it doesn't hurt to do it again. They've read this whole document, we met with them. So if you're thinking, I guess I
We
just,
started with the private roads.
yeah, I don't know if you guys, if we need to flesh this out more with Scott's proposal or the existing, we can talk about it on Wednesday, but. Comments, concerns about changing
Well,
the
I think
number?
From staff perspective, it'd be nice to hash it out here so that when we have a document that's provided to you on Wednesday, that it's actually what is being considered for adoption.
The county road, 66 feet under easement, 36 foot of pavement. 2 feet on each side.
I'm thinking of a residential road,
That's
but I don't know off the top of my head.
So maybe I'm not picturing it. So when I'm thinking the 4 number versus the 19 number, I'm thinking, what do you allow from a shared driveway? I'm comfortable from a shared driveway perspective of the 4, so it doesn't become more spider webby. And now again, that's all privately maintained on the property owner. So then people move in and they start complaining, like, because this is all the exact problems that we've dealt with, but maybe I'm not picturing it the right way. I also don't want to be too extreme.
Maybe we should have the staff reach out to the county and find out what.
I think it's more, but the question is more the number for the, am I thinking about it wrong from the shared driveway?
I want to be very clear that we do not allow shared driveways that our language says a private road is required for 2 or more residents. So servicing one.
Sorry, just a quick, what did you want us to ask the county? Cause
There seems to be some back and forth about what their standard actually is for a residential road. And I'm
Yes,
wondering if we should
check that.
find out what that
I
is.
know that the 66-foot easement is required. I just clicked.
Right, I agree with that.
Andy's road versus 30 and they accepted that. So let's check. I'll get confirmation.
I can measure it. I don't know if it's quite that wide. But I don't think that's, I believe that's.
I think the 100-foot cul-de-sac.
Isn't that a private house? Or is that a public?
I don't know.
I don't know. It was recent, so
It should-
that was
it should
before
be
our.
done. If it was recent, it should have met whatever it is.
So, okay, so what are the board's thoughts on that? For clarification on that, changing the number of. I like them,
That's about 24.
but I don't know if I'm picturing it wrong,
Yeah.
or if I'm.
You're thinking the one
What
about
do you
your.
think? You know, like,
I want to make it further.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the question wrong though, to say like how many, if you're that number for shared driveway, am I wording that wrong?
I have a question, Andrea. If I want to put in what we call it, watermark area. A true subdivision. Give me a quick, as fast as you can, overview of how that process works to put in an actual development like watermark.
So an engineer, you need an engineer drawing from a developer who would show you all of the lots they want to split. They have to show you all the wetlands, all of the buildable areas, the grades, everything for an entire site.
Mhm.
They'd have to show you exactly where the roads are. They'd have to show you all the easements. They'd have to show you buildable area and lot width for all the properties. They'd come to the planning commission. We would look through, for all of the requirements. Then I believe they have to, I don't know if it's a review or if they have to just submit it to the state to be registered as a subdivision. And then they can start
Building subdivision.
Oak Harbor has a 66-foot wide easement around all its roads.
Yeah.
And it appears they're about 22 feet wide.
Hmm.
So,
So there's wiggle room in there.
a little bit.
Okay, can you read, Chris, that part about the 4, read that language?
Sorry, sure.
No, it's fine. I just want to flush it out. Make sure we're thinking about it right.
So it says this is in section 10.2B. Private roads are not allowed except for certain exceptions, such as in uniform-based code zoning districts, and overlay zoning districts, and in instances where the private street accesses no more than 4 housing units as outlined in this section. Then later on, it says the following standards are required for all private streets. And then it says private streets shall have access no more than 4 lots. Under that, it says as to have a right of way of 66 feet. That's been mentioned. That the actual road pavement must be at least 18 feet wide. That's been mentioned. It talks about the actual construction, the thickness and the pavement design, has fairly significant standards for that, and does not reference the county. It gives its own standards. Then later on, it says, if you are looking to build a road that's going to access more than 4 housing units, that road must be built to Kent County Road Commission standards and then dedicated to the county. I think as mentioned, and dedicated to the county. Should probably be discussion.
Is dedicated like a gift?
That means you're making it public.
So then if you get a
That would mean
gift,
the developer pays to build it, then gives it to the county, now the county's to maintain and do it.
The gift that keeps giving, just, that's why we don't want it. It's such a great gift. All right, so then the issue is that, how wide is 18 feet?
9 times 2.
I know. What's it look, is it half this
Basically-
room?
basically parking spaces.
That's not wide.
It's not, that's my point. You
So I
can't
don't wanna
drive
go up
down
to
an
9 or
18-foot
10,
wide road
But
like
that's
it is
exactly
twice.
this, I'm
And let
comfortable.
two trailers
No,
pass
so-
without encroaching on somebody's.
So
property.
I'm comfortable with
You're here.
18 feet is not wide.
That's my point.
No, so I'm saying I'm comfortable with 4.
Grace, those small circles from one to the other is about that distance.
Also, yeah, so I don't, how do you do 19 homes on there? That's exactly the kind of stuff that causes a headache.
So I think it should be 22 feet.
Or 24 feet.
Or 4 homes. I don't know.
The development across from Thornapple Golf Course, those are 24-foot wide gauge posts, and they're on 66-foot easements.
If we're on 18 feet, so then the issue is you can make it wider. I don't know if that causes additional things that need to be addressed.
Can we,
Or you choose the number that you keep the
Yeah.
width existing, and are we comfortable with that number of
can
homes?
we ask the road commission, like, what? We keep talking like 18 feet is the public road standard, but what is the Kent County Road Commission's public street standard? Because 18 feet seems way too narrow.
I think it's 30 feet.
I think you're right, and so that's the question. that we-
I did put it.
And so anyways, Andrea, will you get that clarification for us, please?
I'm on the county website right now, and it appears that it's 30,
30?
Ah.
but I need to verify according to all the.
But see, I think that's kind of that's part of the confusion, I think, for, I'm gonna say the subcommittee, I'm gonna speak on the 3 of our behalf, that we're being told or we understand that our current standards are what the public road standards, well, we're talking like the Kent County Road Commission standards, but our current standards are not that, they're 18
They're
feet.
the standards for the depth of the base.
Right, which that's not.
Not the width of the. road.
Right,
I
but
think we're
that's
thinking
not,
width.
right, I think we mean the whole, I think it was portrayed as being the whole road, like our current standards are the county road standards, but they're not.
That's why I've been saying for years that I think that we need to be wider than.
Yes, yes. And so I
You can
think-
have a vehicle 102 inches wide.
Mhm.
If you
So
have
I
200
think that-
foot vehicles.
I think we need the full clarification from the road commission on residential streets before I think we can make a final one way or the other.
Okay.
That's my. Because I don't know how we can say you have to build it to county standards and turn it over to the county when or to private road standards and turn over to the county when our private road standards don't meet the county's private road standards.
Well,
That
it's
doesn't
not
make any
just the-
sense.
It's not just the base, it's the width of 30.
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about the whole road, right?
So
That's what I'm
we
saying.
should have.
Yes.
Full reiterating.
Yep.
Yep.
And correct.
Because, yes. And so if that's what the county requires, we need their requirements for residential streets. And if that's what we're gonna require for greater than 4 houses, then that's what it needs to say.
So is it premature to have that number discussion, the number 4 versus what, 9 or 10 and a half or something?
Why not on four? It's a private street.
Because it's only 4. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I think
I think if you require everything to be a public road,
Mhm.
at the 30 feet, okay, you're gonna get rid of a lot of creativity in the township as far as housing development and
Mhm.
stuff. And I think that's part of what drives our property values and desire for people to live here.
Mhm.
And, you know, obviously you'll still have a lot of that was built prior, but you won't attract what we're looking for in the future, I think.
But are you looking for that then? Because again, I'm going based on the objectives. Are you going on wanting then to keep that and to encourage that in the rural conservation and, agriculture areas within the township? Because that's the real question then.
That's why I'm asking about 8 as opposed to 4.
At
No, I
8.
don't want to do it at 19. I think that's too much.
What about, but are we talking about at 18 feet width?
No,
'Cause I think 8 or 9 is
saying
too much.
22 feet, but I'm hearing 30 over here.
I'm here
So-
30.
Then do you want to go there, or do you just want to keep it simple and say 4 houses, 18 feet allowed, otherwise go up to, it's kind of more simple this way.
May I make a suggestion? While you're making the decision, we could always consider doing this by zone district too and keeping these rules in the FP and RC. and then exempting R1 and R2 from this regulation. Or some combination of that based on feedback from the
I still think we need, yeah. I still think no matter where it is, it needs to be a much wider road if we're gonna put more than 4 houses on it.
Mhm.
Well, somebody's advocating for 30 foot. I'd support 30 feet at 8 houses. Although with a 66 foot easement, although I would prefer to be more around 22 feet wide, so the spirit of a private road is that it's not, doesn't have a look and feel of a public road. I think there is, you know,
But then you're getting, yes, but then it's that fine line between,
You're right,
you've got
it
a
is.
private road when you've got, and then you build it, you leave, and then all the residents come to us with the problems of private roads. So really, you're kind of just going back to what we were.
but I hold confidence in what Chris is telling me over there with our ordinance. That are-
What part?
Yeah, we're going to have to, the township's going to have to enforce the maintenance agreement rules strictly. You've got the language for it. In my opinion, you should obviously check with the attorney as this is discussed. But, you know, the strongest form of that is a homeowners association, but there are other options. And, I don't think the planning commission should be allowing any private, this is my opinion, but I don't think planning commission should allow any private streets that don't have a hard and fast, permanent, irrevocable maintenance agreement.
100%. And then
I have
is it
a
our job to
question.
then ensure that they're
Can we-
funded?
It's not your job,
Forbid
and that's the people
private
who are
streets.
part of that maintenance agreement.
Sorry, what, Sue?
Except for 4 houses.
Forbid private streets completely.
That's
Kind of
that's
what
what that's kind of what the way this is proposed is you can have a private street up to 4 houses. Anything bigger than that has to be up to the
But
county.
you're talking about the problem when somebody moves out and the other people are left holding the bag.
And you can have a
Avoid
great,
that if you didn't allow any private streets ever for it.
you can have a solid association, homeowners association agreement, and then it doesn't collect enough funding, so then you're still complaining about, you know, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. So that's the kind of stuff that you want other taxpayers' dollars to go towards time and energy, when really the time and energy should be put up front on the developer's end
Yes.
versus us trying to solve it after the fact with taxpayer money. You might as well do it right, and I think.
I think that's kind of I think that's the full circle that
Is that when do you want to
subcommittee
have, who's gonna be, we don't want to be, we're a town, like, we don't. Every little bit you're adding on for us to do is limited staff reason, you know, it's time and money, tax dollars. We've got a long to-do list as it is. I don't think we need to take on more.
I think that's the full circle that I feel like that worked through at the subcommittee level was, you know, we talked about all of these different requirements we could put into place and different things, like you said, like the special assessments, if they don't have an agreement and something needs to be done, but then it all goes back to the legal fees and the, you know, staff resources and everything like that within the township that we don't have. That, okay, why don't we just put that onus on the developer when they're putting in the property or in the.
So think about the amount of time that it took. So, and we don't have a big staff. We're lean as a township. Biscayne Way and all the residents' concerns and all that kind of stuff. How many hours did that take to us to flush out that ultimately, really to flush out what was done, how it was done, whether it was right, what's allowed? Just to flush that out to ultimately come full circle and go back like, hey, landowners, it's on you guys. We're good, not our problem. I mean, think of how many staff hours, which is essentially tax dollars for other people that aren't affected by this. I'd rather have it keep it simple, or developers won't like it because obviously, and then boom, turn it over. Versus going kind of right back to where we are with a little bit wider, but you can do a little more.
Okay, but my proposal is let's just take out private streets
That's
altogether.
I'm saying it
Like
less.
this. Gone. We
Oh,
have none. Can we do that?
well, that
It
would
already
be,
exists, so we
that
want to
would be,
continue to
that would be the
regulate ones that
super
exist.
extreme version.
Just saying, keep it simple.
Yeah.
I do think the one concern there, and Justin brought it up, is the alternative is the road commission, and the road commission can say no. Can say-
So then getting it back to that,
and I think the way the current ordinance is drafted, that would kill the development. We're not comfortable with that. should have a fail safe, the road commission says no. That, could be a strong maintenance agreement or something.
Is
So
there,
you're saying we already have private streets, right, that we have to deal with?
Well, the
But
15
what I'm saying is allow no
I'm
more.
wondering, can there be a compromise, right? Instead of, or can we have it currently where it is for 4, and then from anything from 4 to 8, we raise the standard? Is there a
Then
compromise
it's
to
still
be had?
private, but then when the standards aren't met, it's still on us to
Right, I
start
appreciate
enforcing.
that. I just, it's something I'm continuously hearing from the voters that are contacting me. So like, again, I think we're asking, what's it going to take for each of us to support it? For me, and it doesn't have to be the same for you, I need to see some kind of compromise. Where, I could see up to 4 at our current standard and up to 8 at a higher requirement. And that's my proposal, some kind of, buffer, right, where we have a higher requirement. I think part of the issue that Cascade has, by the way, is the thickness that we require. Specifically on the private roads, and that's why our private roads have worn down as much as they have in these private areas. I think, like, let's raise that, right? We don't even have, we can go above the county
But that,
standard there.
that is, as I say, that's what we do have.
Sure.
So
So
the only piece that's.
But why do we have to, I think ADAs are above the county standard as an example.
I don't know.
I'd like to ask Chris a question. So
I'd like to know.
Grace brought up the example of Biscayne Way, which has taken a ton of time and staff resources, and I get that. However, that road was put in prior to this ordinance. Would we have a mechanism in place today if that road was built to the standard that this ordinance says? And then 10 years from now, there's a problem and the neighbors are fighting over it. We've got a mechanism in place to deal with the issue, do we not? How confident do you feel about that?
I feel confident in it, as noted, you should have your attorneys review the language, but what the language says is that the township, in a situation like that, the township can create a special assessment district without the approval of the homeowners and can actually go ahead and do the construction work, fix the road, and just add that money to their tax bill every year. until-
That is a
just
lot
sounds
of work.
ugly too.
That is a lot of work.
and
When
that
you
is-
could have,
There's a lot of paperwork involved and there's a front cost of construction.
and that's not only that,
And that's what it says
that's
right now.
after you've taken the time dealing with the different residents and the different opinions and the different people that are contacting multiple staff members, multiple elected officials to try to get the angle and the answer that they want. And we have addressed them to basically say, no, this is not a township issue to solve versus keep it clean.
Well, I think of the example of Thornapple Bayou, when their bridge washed out a number of years ago. And they were faced with that scenario essentially, that either they needed to, as a neighborhood, work together and figure out how to replace their bridge, or the township would replace the bridge for them, and they'd all get a really big bill in the mail. And they found a way to solve the problem pretty quick and got it taken care of, because they knew that anything the township put in as far as a bridge was gonna cost them way more than if they just figured out how to finance it and do it themselves. And I kind of view this ordinance in that same scenario as it's setting the stage for something like that. So I like what Chris was proposing. I'm not far off, and what Timmy was saying, 30 feet. I'm flexible here.
I don't
I just
mind the
can't sit at
width
4, I don't
thing.
think, based on
For
the
18.
feedback I'm getting, but I'm certainly not happy at 19, which is what the majority of the feedback I'm getting is to go for. So I'm trying to compromise with everybody, and that's why I came up with the 8, because I thought it was a nice round number. Get a pizza with 8 slices, sounds good about now.
Or if you're real hungry, you do 1 pizza and cut it in 4. Save yourself 2 slices, just take 1 big one. We're not all gonna agree. They're fair points.
What direction do we want to give staff?
You wanna do a hand raise? I don't know. I don't have a problem with a wider width.
I have no idea what you guys are gonna try and do. That's a lot of different angles here.
I prefer how it is,
Okay.
but I'm just one of 7.
Let's just see if we have a show of hands then. I'll throw, you had an idea, 4 and under, it stays at
What it is,
what it is.
4 to 8 is the Scott system.
Which is
I
I
wrote it
think that
down.
Get
was
some-
22 foot wide is what I proposed.
22 foot wide,
66 foot wide
66 foot, easement with a maintenance agreement.
Which we already require maintenance.
Which we already
and-
require the easement.
Yeah, yeah.
But But I just want to understand, the county requirement would be 30 feet.
We assume. I have an
Everything-
email.
We can't assume, that's the wrong word.
We will confirm that.
Okay.
That is-
If you ever want to turn it over to the county, it's got 30.
I think the county's gonna vary based on number of homes, based on what it's just parking. It's gonna.
Does 4 homes and under then, if it's a smaller road, does it still require a 66 foot easement or does that get reduced?
66 foot easement is everything.
That's how it's worded right now.
I don't see any reason to change that.
Are we agreeing?
So instead of, so again, they'd be private. I don't know, I think it's. I think you're still gonna have, we're not gonna get I think you're still kind of delaying we're gonna have the same. I'd rather have it up front, deal with the issues. We already know what the problems are down the road and put it on the developer, do it right the first time.
So we have the 4, which is I think what you're proposing,
Mhm.
and then we have the 4 and 8. How do you want to do this, Grace? Like, to give staff direction one way or the
I
other?
think we should go around to the board, we gotta see.
What are you proposing with 4? How wide is the road gonna be?
It's the same.
The proposal is 18 feet.
Wide.
Pretty near. Not, that's why the max is 4. Do you think it should go even stricter?
I do 22 feet.
I do 22.
Yeah, oh,
4 homes?
Yes.
I think that you'll find the fire department has a problem if they ever get called down there to one of those houses,
Wait a minute,
getting the 2 fire trucks past each other.
wait, so you would say for 4 homes, you're gonna do 22 feet, not 18?
The fire department is comfortable with the 18.
I'm
as
fine
long
with
as
that.
the Turnaround
It's
is,
turnaround. It's not.
is
Yeah.
compliant.
But then do you wanna open up the middle?
So you're saying how many feet for 4 houses?
I'm fine with that.
22 for 4.
Is anyone opposed to that? Besides any of the 7?
I think 22 is fine,
Me too.
but
But then the second half,
so then,
the
yeah,
second
so then-
question.
yeah, so then what I'm saying is 8, you're saying 4, which is fine. I just, which direction we want to give staff? That,
6?
I think, I'm still with 4.
no, that's fine, and then that's okay.
Plenty.
I think I'm saying 8, I don't,
I'm good with 8. I,
8 on what side of the road?
22.
That's what the maintenance agreement between
yeah.
all the property.
But everything's got a maintenance, that's already required.
Yeah.
Biscayne Way is a maintenance agreement requirement too, it took a lot of time to come full circle, to be like, you already have it.
What are you mumbling over there?
8 doubles the traffic.
I don't remember.
Widen that road.
So
But
what,
then we
so
get
it-
to the
so at
public road,
22
then we
feet.
talk, that's when we.
So are you
talk about
saying
sending it
we,
over.
we can modify it 4 at 22 and then 4 to 8 at
this is a slippery slope, I don't wanna.
26?
Yeah, 26 be fine, 24, 26, but you double the traffic when you go from 4 homes to 8 homes.
So then, let's say 4 is 22 and above that is, you know. Yeah,
So then you're basically
This one.
creating private road.
You're
Again.
gonna have one that's
I say we keep it clean. So that we're not doing this kind of stuff. We're saving.
so I,
So there's-
yeah, my proposal is 4 at 22 and then from 4 to 8 going to 26.
Then I ask one more question.
Obviously.
If you wanted to build a development with 15 homes and you built the road to the county standard of 30 foot wide, does it have to be a county road?
That's the question that that's another,
As
have
drafted,
that back.
yes.
Mhm. I'd be more
There's a consensus on
comfortable-
the board, that should be the case, but as drafted, yes.
I'd be fine with including that thing, Chris, that language about, which is a pretty big.
Medical doesn't share.
so.
Already in
Eight and go to 30 foot.
Existing and carry over.
It's already-
Previous.
Oh, it's already in there.
Yeah.
So yes, we already have it. Well, then I don't,
We have it for everything, for the board.
so it's nothing new.
No, my my concern rests on now all of the neighborhoods of public roads. As opposed to having neighborhoods with, you know, a gated entry and a private road, you've. See where I'm going with this, from a,
Meaning allowing that option kind of the private road gated community kind of thing?
exactly, you're preventing another Manchester Hills from being built, or Oak Harbor, or any of the newer developments in the township. If you're gonna require the public road, you're changing the dynamic significantly.
Right.
And that's what I'm questioning, is that.
Because
Is that the
because the road
intent?
commission doesn't allow gates, so yeah, the pretentious part does kind of get taken out.
Right,
And
so if we required the road to be built exactly how the road commission require, with that curb gutter, whatever it is that,
So one of the things, so one is requirements, right? We had requirements for years that we just didn't enforce, and now we're dealing with a ton, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the requirements themselves. But then the issue of enforcement and whether they meet the requirements, the whole everything, and you can make all the requirements in the world, but you still, the more you take on, the more staff hours, taxpayer dollars that from people that don't live there, you're putting into taking on an issue, regulate, oversight, enforcement, that kind of stuff, versus if you, I guess I am an advocate for keeping it clean. I'm fine with the 22 inches, or sorry, 22 feet. But then at some point, not our, I guess you don't get a gate, but.
And I'm saying 4 at 22, 4 to 8 at 26, like.
I like that.
But you're saying kind of go down that road where you open the door a little bit to like, well, it's still
Saying
private.
4 at 18, or 4 at 22, and 4 to 8 at 26. That's what I'm saying.
5 to 8.
Yep. Thank you.
Chris, did you hand up over you?
My comment's about beyond 8, so I'll save it for one.
I'm curious.
No, now's the
to
time.
hear it.
Let's,
Is now the time?
yep.
Okay, I'll make sure. If there is discomfort with the idea of you can't go past 8 without being approved by the road function. One option in interventions too is to allow private roads that are built to county standards to remain private in the R1 and R2 districts, with the number of houses along them being dictated by the minimum lot size of the zoning district. So you could build over many year allowed in the zoning district, keep it private, provided it's built to county standards, and you do the maintenance agreement. That is already in here. That is an option. You could then keep the hard cap of 8 out in the rural RC and FP districts. That'll keep the rural areas from subdividing
Mhm.
while allowing R1, R2 zones, residential zones, to build out residential where there's.
I like
still-
that,
It's a suggestion.
because you're still gonna have some of then the country feel left. East of Buttrick.
Yeah.
A little bit south.
But you want to allow more than 4 in the rural. if you
Right,
want-
'cause
are
I would be
trying to
allowed
keep
to
it
8,
rural.
Right.
That
I
should be
just
the
don't,
4.
Sorry,
I said that should be then where the 4 is.
right?
If that's.
so then you're
the
allowing the
intent.
Why would
private.
you allow more out there where you want to develop it less?
Well,
There's
so he's
hearing
saying
more.
more stop at 8.
Yeah, there's more space out there too, so.
Right. But he's saying that would stop at 8, but then if you were gonna, do something in the R1 district. That's
What
where
could
you.
go wrong?
Everything that already does.
Just saying.
I don't know. I'd prefer to keep it the 4 cap at east of, in the what, more rural farmland. Arc.
Utility boundary. I think that was
Well,
part of the intent.
you don't get the benefits of our own zone, you're outside. retail. So.
Yeah.
That's our
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, that's true.
How do we move forward? Like to talk about something other than.
I mean, my proposal is still 4 and 8. I'm not saying, it's just my preference, doesn't mean that it's the right one. I don't know what everybody else feels, and I know you're saying 4 at 22. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what I'm hearing.
4. I'd even do 4 at 18, but I'm fine with 4 at 22. I just don't want to do the inching back. I guess I disagree with the 8.
Okay, no, fair enough. So, we've got 1 at 4 and 1 at 4 plus 5 plus, 5 to 8. Like, where does everybody feel on it?
I like the 5 to 8 idea.
I'm at the 4.
Same.
5 to 8's good with me.
The 26-foot road, yeah, okay, pavement.
Yeah, that's what I suggested.
Okay, the men get it this time. Or 3.
How that just happened.
We're not voting on it tonight, we're just.
And I, just as a comment too,
It's just going in.
it would be nice to have heard some of this, Scott, during the subcommittee meetings when you.
Well, I didn't have the public comment from the
No, I know,
public at that point, and that's why I went into the office today and talked to Andrea about this ahead of time, yet I'd been pressured, well, I get cornered at church by like 6 people in a room. I mean, there's a lot of people out there
Right.
that are passionate about.
For the crowd.
The ones.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
the ones-
got a list too. So, you know, just trying to work through the list, and that's what this meeting's for.
Well, and we'll just have to make sure that this is noted and publicly out there so that, because again, we hear comments from the people who don't like what the proposal is.
Mhm.
We need to make this also as publicly known that we're changing it back a different way so that the people who don't like this change can come and voice those opinions too at the
I
next 2
agree.
meetings. Because I think that that's something that is very hard as an elected official to sit up here and to stand, you're not gonna make everybody happy. And I think by this change that you just made, there will be some people that are not happy. Who knows if it'll be more or less? But the people that currently have your ear are the ones that wanted this to be changed. And I think that that is a very hard fact for everybody that sits up here on this board, that we always hear the negativity from people. But when we make changes like this, we also have to make sure it's publicly known and out there. So the people who liked the change now have a chance to voice their concerns that they're not happy with the rural district being able to have 8 homes on a private street.
Yeah, I
We
don't
have
like
to be
it.
making that known. And I think that's the problem. And that's what I'm saying about the subcommittee is that part of being elected official is standing and holding some ground when it's something that really meant something at a point in time. And some people have had your ears that you need to change your mind. And I just want it known that it has to be public so people can voice their concerns about this change, that this does allow for more development within the rural area, which was a #1 concern on the strategic plan questionnaire.
The whole point was before we call it whatever we want, right? The zoning was called farmland preservation, but there was no teeth to it. So if you read it, you're like, oh, it's green on a map and it's called farmland preservation. But the reality is it
was not.
Spiderweb Central, I mean, there was no teeth to it. So that was the teeth, but if you want to punch out a couple of the teeth, that makes sense. I mean, it's a fair question. Okay.
So as I understand it, we're going to continue to allow for private streets for 4 lots, but we're going to expand the width. Everything else stays the same to 22 feet for private streets that service 2 to 4 lots.
And then 5 to
Private
8 is
streets.
26 feet, was what they had proposed.
Yeah.
Up to 5 to 8 homes.
And everything after that, needs to be submitted and approved by the county to become a public.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we were just,
Do we want anything in place if the county rejects it?
do we already have that?
No.
No, it's just.
No, if we're gonna go that middle route, I'd say no.
I'm asking the question. I'm not trying to.
I'm just answering your question.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like, is it,
With a little passion.
that's fine. What happens if, so if they submit and the county says no, then it's rejected? Is that, like, we should be clear about that too.
It becomes a subdivision.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There you go.
Okay. I just don't think it should be moved about what happens in that eventuality. I'm fine with the result of it being, you see where I'm going
Yeah, and
with
I don't
this?
think it is moot. I think it's what John.
I think the answer is that it's denied and that development can't.
That way.
Like that, sometimes it knows the answer. But I think the way that you guys are looking at structuring that now, the county rejects it, then that it doesn't get up.
And when you brought up that some people may be upset about the possibility that no property could be split in the arc of farmland preservation. But what I'm hearing is that if they went in and applied instead of as a private road, they go in and apply it as a subdivision.
It would still need to be handed over to the county for our.
Right, but it could still get cut off more than 8 houses.
Yep.
You could have 80 houses as something.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
No, but we're talking again about the private roads,
We are.
the easy way out.
Right.
That's what we're
Mhm.
talking about.
Yes.
That's That's part of the problem. The easy way out.
We're
Which is-
making it twice as hard as it was.
Especially if we enforce it. Okay, next talking point.
The next thing on our list is housing density in every district, which I will run through shortly when I finish making sure I have down everything you said.
Can we do height in this one too?
Yeah, I had height slash density.
Okay, you want your density and height together? We can do that. Okay, so we're gonna be in section 6.1 of the well, draft ordinance. I keep saying draft and I hesitate because it's not technically a draft because of the planning commission's vote. It becomes the recommended ordinance. But I want to make it clear that this is not because what Kenna is recommending it. So I will be going through section 6.1
Of Article 8,
of article, no. Article 6.
Article
section
6.
6.1.
thank you.
We will jump to Articles 7 and 8 as we go through this though. So in the farmland preservation district,
Which is like east of Buttrick.
yes, that's, I don't. Have it immediately do my youth up there. Maybe it was zoning map up there and on their screens. Or maybe the underlying districts map, I don't know what we really want. Mess.
Okay, great.
I did the same thing.
Thanks. I was reading the map up for the public and for the board, so everyone can see the colors and understand where we're coming to from.
I don't really know what you say. You see anything on that screen?
Is there a clue from this is the second screen that you don't know exists?
Good time to do it.
Okay, now I did it.
Oh, see, I can help, sorry.
Thank you. Back in.
Yeah, I think you moved the computer now.
Okay, what's over there now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Better than what I was saying.
No.
Is there anyone virtually right now, Nick? Two people.
Yeah. So we do need to,
Share.
we need to share.
Wait a minute, tell me when the model says good talk.
Tammy, this is,
All right, so what everyone's seeing right now is the zoning map with all PUDs removed.
Where are we seeing it?
It should be on your screen.
It's not.
no,
If you have the zoning ordinance in front of you right now, it's gonna be in chapter 2.
give a page number or not.
Page number 2.9. Let me pulled out.
Dude, but it can seem.
If we join the Zoom meeting, will we get it that way?
Yeah, but we want to turn off all of our sound.
Sure.
Oh.
Is everyone looking at the map?
Not yet. What was it? What was it? 10.9?
2.9.
2.9?
Yeah.
Loading.
Now what happened?
You got it up there.
Oh, now.
Yes.
Sorry, Wendy, you just come in. We had a plan, didn't we, Chris?
We had a plan.
We had a plan.
It wasn't like, working.
What's weird is that door's open from the outside. So you can't get out.
Oh, wow.
It's the opposite of what we think it is.
Okay, so are we on it? We're good?
Yep, everybody should be looking at page 2.9 of the zoning ordinance, you know, underlying zone district.
Okay.
Right up here, hopefully this is somewhat cool for you.
All right, in the farmland preservation district, we can see dark green. You can have one house per 10 acres. So if you wanna make it like consistent with how we report everything else, it's 0.1 units per acre. And just to make sure this is clear, they must be single family houses. Cannot do duplexes, you cannot do multifamily in that district.
And real quick, just to add for people who are listening, because that's, we did introduce to the purchase, optional voluntary purchase of development rights where you partner with the county so that you can get, there's a financial incentive to optional to not, because you can't develop.
Yes, there's a direct financial incentive to sell your development rights to the township instead of to a developer, and the township will actually build on it. And that is in this ordinance, but not, right now, we're contemplating if you actually want to.
Right, I'm just talking about fairness and that kind of stuff for existing property owners.
Yes. The next district, rural conservation, that's the light green, you can build one house per 2.3 acres. So we can reverse the math, that's about 0.4 units per acre, 0.4 units per acre. And again, those are all single family houses. In R1, you can build one house per acre, 1 unit per acre, easy math. And again, all single family houses.
Is that different than what we have now?
Yes,
Yes.
currently in the farmland preservation, it's 2.2 acres. We've raised that to 10 because it doesn't make sense to have a farmland preservation district if you have a 2.2 acre minimum. The RC or ARC as it's called right now, agricultural rural conservation, is the exact same. R2 or R1, we've raised it from 40,000 square feet to 560, which is 1 acre. So we've,
Oh, so instead of the weird just under an acre, it's
Yeah.
just 1 acre?
correct.
Okay.
And 1,800 for R2.
How many homes are non-conforming because of that change?
I'd have to do analysis.
Probably.
I can have it by Wednesday.
There is a,
Yeah,
there's a provision in here that says if your lot was previously conforming, it is considered conforming and buildable.
I'm
But you
just
can't
curious,
create any
we're
new lots.
we're making a big change, which is fine, I just wanna understand what it does to what's there now.
Yeah, it's, if you have a lot. Well, I think we need to talk about whether, undeveloped lots under 10 acres are buildable, but if your lot is developed. Then you are not subject to non-conforming restrictions. Because you have less than 10 acres, but no new lots less than 10 acres.
For R1 and R2, I would just be interested in the data, how many homes today are,
R2
Non-conforming.
We're gonna put R1.
so R1 then, thank you.
R1 in general right now is pretty much developed in Cascade Township though, right? There's probably a few lots, but R1 is what it is.
So
What's
R2
R2?
is 1 per acre also.
R2 is, one going in per 18,000 square feet, so that's about 2.2 units per acre, a little over 2 units per acre. General business does not allow housing at all, unless you are in one of the overlays that allows housing, and I will get to those later. General office does not allow housing at all, unless you're in an overlay. Expressway service does not allow housing at all unless you're in an overlay. Airport commerce does not allow housing at all, and there are no overlays over that. High intensity industrial does not allow any housing at all. Industrial does not allow housing. Transitional industrial does not allow housing. I don't believe there are any overlays over those either. In the form-based code, for that, we do need to turn our attention to section 8.2, 8.2B specifically.
The 8.2B.
8.2B. And this section was edited after your last workshop on it.
Around 8.106.
So there's a few things here. So this is a little different because it's not a straight unit per acre. Anything under half an acre is allowed to have 2 dwelling units on the property. Anything between half an acre and 1 acre is allowed to have 4 dwelling units on the property. Anything between 1 and 3 acres is allowed to have 6 dwelling units on the property. And anything over 3 acres is permitted to have 2 dwelling units per acre.
Can you do what we've got now versus what the proposed is?
Currently, in that district, you can have 9 units per acre district-wide.
This is kind of a sliding scale where it goes up and then down.
Yeah, although if you have 3 and you go to 3.1, you're going from 6 to 6. So there isn't a point where it actually goes down in terms of the total number of units you have. Yeah, but it is like this, or yeah, maybe plateaus, but I guess if you're walking, you have more than a 2 acre.
So
And
this is in
the
the
purpose of this
Village,
is to be village scale. It's to encourage somebody with a small lot to put 2 dwelling units over a business and discourage a developer from accumulating 10 acres and putting in an apartment complex, because a 10-acre lot only gets 20 units.
so again, we're talking Thorn River, Tuffy site, Bowling, Dollar Tree,
Yes,
up to kind of the library.
Yep.
Old 28, that triangle that however you define it, but we're kind of referring to it as the village core, village.
yes, that's the village area, that's the master plan.
So right now residential I didn't realize that, there's no residential, it hasn't happened yet, but since 2011, residential has been allowed.
Yes,
It just hasn't been done.
To 9 units an acre.
and there is some residential in that district. It's kind of back off Cascade Road, back towards the condos. There's some houses in there.
So this is the language
Right, some of those
that came up
condos.
to address the concerns about too much about people making a bigger parcel, or like the
Correct.
following parcel was really large, so this limits that so that it can't become a massive apartment.
Put in dozens of housing units all at
Right.
once. This would mean they come in 2s, 4s, 6s, basically.
We're talking about affordability. What is it, Redwood that's behind Culver? That's a perfect example of like, come to the township, argue affordable housing, build it so that the developer doesn't have to spend as much money, and the market determines the rent, which is high because you're in Cascade Township. Like, we're not going to create affordability by lowering our standards. Like Redwood is the perfect example, I think, of what you don't want, you don't need, because unless you're doing subsidized housing, the market determines affordability, and you can build in Cascade cheap units. It doesn't mean it's reflected in what the people actually pay, I think. John?
I have a question. What happened to the bonus number of living units?
They were never.
It doesn't apply to the base code, and it never did. They're not in any previous drafts.
Thank you.
It only applies in the overlays, which is about to get to.
So 35-foot max in this area we're speaking about?
Yes, I'm sorry, I did not do, yes, you building heights, and I did not do them as I was running through, so I guess I'll do that in a second.
No, you're good. Wait, but what, can we do each area and talk about height,
Yeah,
density, that kind of stuff?
okay, let's go back to 6.1 though, and I will start at the beginning. So, farmland preservation, again, we're talking, houses here. Quick aside, we're not talking agricultural buildings, that's a totally separate conversation. Involves right to Farm Act and all that. We're talking about houses. The maximum height is, in that district, is 40 feet. Is that consistent with what we have right now? Andrea?
What is, sorry, yes.
40 feet in the farmland preservation
So
district.
no changes there?
And that's not.
Let me be clear. Everything was pretty much 35 feet, but we decided to change the measurement from midpoint to the roof and then increased it by 5 feet. Ran through and confirmed that it was correct. It's now 40. However, that doesn't mean that it's taller. It just means we're measuring it.
And again, though that was in the house, in the single family districts. Because it's applying to houses. When we're talking about applying this to commercial and mixed use. We kept it at 35 for many of the districts, because we're trying to keep those to 2 stories. All right, rural conservation allows 40 feet, R1 allows 40 feet, R2 allows 40 feet, as discussed. General business allows 35 feet, general office allows 35 feet, expressway service allows 48 feet.
Is that what the same that we have now? 48 feet for expressway services?
No, wasn't it like so many stories above the highway?
70, yeah.
And the allowance to count your first story at whatever's even with the highway has been removed.
Thank you.
Expecting applause.
Oh, yeah, all right. That was great.
Thank you.
Praise Jesus.
Okay.
Ridiculous.
High intensity industrial allows 60 feet. I will note that high intensity industrial is not on the map. You have to ask for special zoning to get that. Regular industrial allows 45 feet, and additional industrial allows 45 feet. In the form-based code, all 4 districts allow 35 feet to the peak of the building.
Is it just the village area then, kind of what we're calling?
Yeah, that's the
So
village,
that, I
35 feet.
just want to say, that's 5 feet less than what you allow in the residential area, correct?
Yes.
What's allowed right now in this area that we're
That's
calling the
allowed right
village
now in
for height?
I do, while I'm looking this up, want to note that, there is an exception for pitched roofs that have a higher pitched on Victorian style to go higher than that, just in the pitched roof area, because of the slope of the roof.
But it doesn't change like the number of stories
Correct.
for density.
In fact, I was looking at that language, and I think we should add something that says specifically that extra height allowance is not to allow additional usable floor area.
Yeah, do you mind adding that?
Yeah.
Good.
All right, so, oh, sorry, you're answering the B1 question.
Yeah, why don't you?
I was gonna ask about setbacks. Is that now not the time to do that?
Let's
Let's
stick on
one.
It's a good,
It's right on that page.
in that area.
Yeah.
That's on the list, that's next on the list, so we'll.
Oh, that's
Okay.
next on the list.
So in this area that we're calling the village, that kind of that triangle area, no bonuses allowed. Is that right?
That's what I'm hearing.
Overlay areas.
25 for non-residential.
Yeah, we'll have to hash out
30
where
for
that is.
residential and P1.
What is a 5-foot increase?
Think
from
worst
B1?
case scenario.
It is an increase,
It's a 5-foot increase from B1.
But
Unless
if
it's
the
a little
measurement-
confusing with that housing density.
but it's the measurement from a different place.
Yeah, the measurement
That's
is to
the
be,
key.
if you have a peaked roof on your current ordinance, your measurement is the halfway point between the peak and the eaves, so right here.
Right, so we added
Now we measure
5
it
feet,
there.
but it's because we're measuring to the tallest point, trying to make sure that we know what the maximum height is gonna be, so that if you have a view somewhere, you know, nothing can go over 35 feet from this section. You can't play with rough pitches to be able to get a taller roof.
Exactly. It's, yes.
Honestly,
That's why.
that's why we,
I have
why
actually
we as a
seen,
subcommittee.
while that will very common, I have actually seen people lower one side.
Right,
This is the same, but this got lower, oh my, the building's shorter now.
exactly.
That is
I have
exactly
I have
what
a
we're seeing.
big eaves on this one side to cover my firewood.
Exactly. Anyway, so that's the village area. In the overlays,
Wait, does anyone have a question about density on this one though? Can you- Like village area density?
Yeah, I mean, we're right in the zoning code. Why do we even have that? Why do we even have residential?
Well, question, we've had it. I don't think we
Well,
really
that
know.
doesn't mean we're rewriting zoning. It doesn't mean we have to include it now. We're changing zoning.
Well, to get it out would also be changing zoning to X.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We can change it. That's what we're doing, several things here,
So-
changing zoning.
So I just wanna understand, so you prefer to have more residential out in the rural conservation districts,
Yeah,
but
go from
none,
4 to 8,
Yeah. so none within the village core area, which we currently already have, and we have people living there.
They'd be non-conforming.
Right, but that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You can't have a village and nobody living
We
in
have
it. Timmy.
traffic issues down on 28th Street and on Cascade.
We do,
Road.
and like I just said, there's 3 main reasons why, and this zoning is not gonna change those reasons.
Yeah, we're in control of our own zoning here, so, you know, you
But
talked about
we
we can't
can't
control
control the
Caledonia, Kentwood, and you know, all these different areas, but we can control our own.
You know what else we can control? The rural conservation area, which is gonna drive down Cascade and 28th Street to get to their home and to the businesses, but we just talked about wanting to increase that.
We just took it from 19 to 8.
We
So we
increased,
cut it in
wait,
half.
that's what we're doing with this, with the village. We're going from 9 to 3.
Hey, the Ada.
In your
go-
logic.
so Visually drive down to Ada and you've got that,
more than acre.
the Ada's, the new development, you've got that, let's say the hotel where they just. It looks like it's one, I think it's one big building, but it looks like 4 or 5 And then also some other buildings on Ada Drive, still in Ada, where they're a little bit shorter maybe, but it's one contiguous building, I believe, but they look different. Would that be allowed in this, go to the village area?
So actually, we need to get into that because we need to talk about lot width in the village area.
Yeah, we do.
And also, but like,
Okay.
Because I think we had a discussion, I think there is a lack of consensus on the board based on the August 5th discussion, and we need to get into it.
Cause I have down that we have a minimum setback of 30 feet. But the minimum lot size is 50.
That's actually a
The
maximum.
maximum lot size is 50.
What's the
Which means the building's only be 20 feet wide
It's the maximum,
on a 50-foot wide
that's
lot.
the maximum size setback.
Okay, okay. So what's the
We do
minimum?
need to talk about side setbacks.
Yeah.
I think we've had to
We need to
see about
finish
that
with what we're
from the
doing.
board and public.
I could comment,
Mhm.
interject, sorry, I know it's your guys' meeting, but I think we need to stick with density for a minute.
Okay.
Because there have been some very specific things that have been brought to us as staff as concerns. And I think we need to really nail through the density.
That's a good point.
Setbacks.
Yeah.
Because setbacks have also been addressed multiple times, and there's been revisions to this draft ordinance multiple times because of other comments, so, we keep making these updates based upon feedback that we're getting, and then it just becomes a certain conversations are still just going in circles, so I would prefer it if we could just do density.
Okay.
And then move on to something.
So just density. Got it.
Would you like me to move on to the density in the overlay districts, or are we still discussing the form-based?
No, I think that there's something Timmy has a concern about the village floor.
He doesn't
And I-
want any.
I don't want open residential,
Zero.
but I don't want them on top of the commercial buildings. I don't want 3-story buildings with residential apartments above them.
Oh, you're not allowed to have that no matter what,
Oh,
because you
yeah,
can't,
on top of the liquor store. That's what we had last time.
no, it's, that's,
So you can go to, as drafted, you can go to 2.5 stories, so you can have a peak roof, dormers, and yes, a 3rd story.
There's no residential units on top of the liquor store. that are-
but in theory, you could put.
But it was approved at
It
one
was
time
in
at the
there.
planning commission. When he was on the planning commission, they brought in a.
Well, you guys are talking about something that happened here.
Yeah,
We're talking Yeah, we're talking about.
I was trying to put context to what he was
Yeah,
saying.
in theory, you can sell alcohol on one and you can have a child living above you. As long as it
It's
looks,
just, we just had this where you could have residential so long as it was above a commercial storefront.
You can, but I think you're alluding that we
In
have.
your
something
current
that's
and in
being
draft.
applied to now. We don't have, nothing's been submitted as of yet to do what you're saying. The liquor store site
It
plan.
didn't here.
I
It
get
was in
it's
the old
zoning,
zoning
but-
ordinance and in this ordinance,
So
but we
we're
don't
here
have.
changing zoning, so I would like to change the zoning to remove the residential from our commercial districts.
I hear you.
I would strongly
So that's a
oppose that.
Conversation here. That's not a conversation here.
Yeah.
I don't think we need it in our commercial districts.
I think done right with the proper requirements, it's the way to go for a more walkable type thing. And I think it can be done without the unlimited, what the big fear is for people that live here, congestion, property values tank, renters, drug dealers.
I mean, a perfect place.
So can I make a comment?
I think you can do a couple really nice units that, and it's gonna encourage condos for
We
people
also
that.
have hotels allowed in Thornapple.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, that, I don't know how, that's good catch, and I think that,
May I speak to 2 edits that we would propose that you make for the next,
Well,
there's-
I
the
just have
general-
them available.
well,
7 what?
if.
7 areas, we can have hotels.
Yeah, that's why, let's talk, we're in this village core.
Article
If
5.
you're allowed in it.
That's what I don't think we talked about that at the,
I think
No,
that,
I think.
I'm gonna say that was a typo. of
And I
some
was-
sort,
and a good-
because
yeah,
that was not ever, that was not ever, that was totally
Yeah.
a typo of some sort, because that was never.
These typos are what we got.
yeah, you can do bed and breakfast, I think, which is a,
Yes.
And that is appreciated.
For
yeah.
context for the entire board right now, the use table that's in section 5 of the zoning ordinance allows for hotels in all districts of the form-based code district. I don't think that's not the intent of anyone on this board. So I remove those and kind of have them
Which,
removed.
yeah, which, I'm thinking, version of the ordinances that we have.
All of them, every single one.
So there's 4 different zones in form-based code that allow the hotels. That was all in state.
Yes, that's incorrect.
So we're removing all the hotels from form-based code.
And we actually, as part of the subcommittee, talked about removing
Yep.
the hotels from
Yes.
all of the other overlay areas. I know, but that's what I'm saying, that was
That's
not
my
the
problem,
intent.
is that we talk about removing them, and then when I go read it, it's in there again.
There,
That's, we'll take responsibility. for
Yeah,
that.
fair
Just
point.
copy
It's a good one.
Which one of these other ones is allowed?
Hotels are allowed in expressway service by special use.
And
In the
interchange.
airport, commerce, because nothing changed there. And then the overlay, the interchange overlay, which is where the expressway service is.
Yeah, those
So
are
they're
actually
the
the
same
same
overlay.
place
That's
geographically.
O1,
OI,
OI.
correct.
So that's over what part? That's,
Meyer area on the east side.
And all
the
the
east of the
relatively new hotels that are there. Chick-fil-A, et cetera,
So you're saying the hotels are still allowed by Meyer?
by special use.
Three of them.
Special use?
Three zones.
Okay. All right.
And one other thing I'd like to quick point out,
That we just talked about only in one zone, right? Expressway service.
What, the
for
hotels?
Hotels.
Okay, what
But
is
only
that?
by special use.
Yeah, but we have, but only by special use in 3 areas.
and so that,
if you look at the overlay map and the zoning map, the interchange overlay and the expressway service overlap one another.
Okay,
So that's one area. Then we didn't make any changes to the airport commerce area, which is the area that you, when you were in the planning commission along with the other planning commissioners adopted in 2023, that we have chose to not change at all. So it is marked as allowed in AC for the very specific reason that we didn't want to change anything in AC.
That'll fix that. Carry over.
yep,
Right.
and we already made some
Meyer
changes
for the
before.
flag.
Okay,
I actually have a comment. 'Cause I think,
So that would be the,
go ahead, Chris.
I actually like to, correct Andrea on something, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the underlying zoning map right now, the expressway service district, the overlay, it is, all of the expressway service district is in an overlay, is in one overlay or another. It's actually not interchange, it's Star and Waterfall shops, neither of which allow hotels. So actually, the expressway service area should probably not allow
Yeah.
hotels because it's overridden by two overlays that.
Yep.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I think we actually should change that.
Yeah. And there's no shortage of hotels in Cascade right
Yeah.
now, so.
here we have one for every 1,200 citizens. Kentwood has one for every 5,500 citizens, so I think we've got plenty.
Yeah,
Don't worry, Kentwood's getting more.
Kentwood's about
I
to
know,
get,
good for them. And then traffic's coming down to 28.
Yeah. Nothing we can do about that.
the airport's doing on the west side of the airport what they want to do on the east side of the airport.
All right, so which overlay are we allowing the hotel? in? Only one. Interchange only. And we're still doing the airport.
There's only one or is interchange different than expressway services?
Yeah.
Yes, expressway services is not allowed.
Okay,
It's no longer, I just crossed it out.
thanks.
I crossed it out of form-based code too, from that.
so what I'm hearing is hotels are only, or there are no hotels allowed south of 28th Street with the exception of the airport area.
Correct.
So one other quick change.
Except for all the hotels that are there can stay, obviously.
Right, they can stay, but if you couldn't build one tomorrow.
It should be special use.
Yeah.
I think,
This is done.
Yeah, tomorrow you're good.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Gotta remember to get.
yeah,
Tomorrow on the
You got
application.
you got a little bit of time, Scott.